শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ শোনা যাচ্ছে।
ভিডিও চালাবো?
ভিডিও চালাও।
আরো দু একটা দেখে দিই। চালাও একটা, সোহালি।
চালাবো? ঠিক আছে।
সোহালি একটা চালাও।
আচ্ছা,
না,
চালাচ্ছি।
একটা করতে পারি।
আচ্ছা, আপনি চালান। আচ্ছা, ডক্টর টমাস আমাদের সাথে জয়েন করেছেন।
আচ্ছা।
ওয়েলকাম স্যার, ওয়েলকাম।
স্যার,
You have to unmute yourself. Sir, you have to unmute yourself. Shubhita, please. একটু ডক্টর পায়েস
সীতমা,
unmute করো।
সীতমা,
Yes.
make you more louder.
Okay, okay, okay. Just a minute, sir. Just a minute.
সোহালি,
হ্যাঁ,
একটা অন্য কিছু চালিয়ে দাও ততক্ষণ।
আচ্ছা, চালাচ্ছি।
আমি ওই ইয়েটা চাইছিলাম কিন্তু ওটা হলো না।
আচ্ছা, আচ্ছা।
আমি স্টপ শেয়ার করেছি।
হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ, করেছেন আপনি।
Yeah, you are unmuted, sir. We will start very soon.
Kamadhi, we have our eminent speaker and our respected chair with us. They have joined. They have changed.
Dr. will join within 5 to 7 minutes. session?
I think, yes, Oshida has joined and we have Lipika Di as well and our esteemed guests.
Okay. So let me start the session with due
Toma,
permission. Yes.
Toma,
Shwanji.
we have with our esteemed guest. Please start.
Yes. So with due permission from the chairman of the conference, Dr. Manavendra Mundul.
Toma, more louder.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, but it has to be louder.
Okay. So with due permission from the chairman of the conference, Dr. Manavendra Mundul, our IQAC director, Dr. Rashid Panda, our organizing secretary, Dr. Lipika.
Toma,
Yes.
you has to be more louder.
Is it okay now? Is it okay now?
It's okay. Okay, fine. It's okay. You continue. Yes.
Okay. So I welcome all. I welcome our guests, our resource persons, and all the participants from different parts of the country and also from abroad. So this would be our first technical session. And in this first technical session, we have with us Dr. Pius B. Thomas as our speaker. Let me introduce Dr. Pius B. Thomas to you all. Dr. Pius B. Thomas is a faculty at the Department of Philosophy, Assam Central University, Silchar. He is an excellent academician, a columnist, and his areas of specialization are contemporary Western philosophy, critical hermeneutics, ethics, applied ethics, theories of democracy, religion and human rights, philosophies of Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. His current research interests are focused on the questions of the possibility of contextualizing human rights along with cultural critique, which stimulates themes like philosophical concepts of interculturality and critique, ethics and reason, democracy and religion, environmental ethics, and the philosophy of education. And he has several important publications in different renowned journals in his credit. He is presently acting as the head of the Department of Philosophy, Assam Central University, Silchar. I thank you, sir, for accepting our request of being a resource person. And today, I am especially overwhelmed because Dr. Pius B. Thomas, he has been my...
Shritamadi, you cannot be heard. Absolutely, you cannot be heard. You are not audible at all.
Is it okay now?
It is absolutely fine now.
Okay, I think there was a problem in
the jack.
Okay,
I can understand.
Yeah. So this is our first technical session. And in this first technical session, we have with us Dr. Pius V. Thomas. So let me introduce Dr. Thomas to our participants and all who are present here. Dr. Pius V. Thomas is a faculty at the Department of Philosophy, Assam University, Silchar. He is an excellent academician, a columnist, and his areas of specialization are contemporary Western philosophy, critical hermeneutics, ethics, especially applied ethics, theories of democracy, religion and human rights, philosophies of Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. And his current research interests are focused on the questions of the possibility of contextualizing human rights along with cultural critique, which stimulates themes like philosophical concepts of interculturality and critique, ethics and reason, democracy and religion, environmental ethics, and the philosophy of education. And he has several important publications in different renowned journals in his credit. He is currently the head of the Department of Philosophy, Assam Central University, Silchar. I thank you, sir, for accepting our request of being a resource person. And I am especially overwhelmed today because Dr. Pius B. Thomas has been my most adored teacher, my inspiration in personal as well as in my professional life. And you have guided me always throughout. And I want to make it a mention that I have earned my doctorate degree under his supervision. And I am very grateful today that I have got the opportunity to hear from you, sir, after a long. So thank you so much, sir. And in this session, we have with us our the chairperson of this session, Professor Khondekar Mokaddam Hussain, who is the Pro Vice Chancellor of Bangladesh Open University. He is the chairperson of this session. And we have our rapporteur, Dr. Sohili Choudhury. She is currently the head of the Department of Sociology, Belda College. So I hand over the session to Sohili. Sohili, please conduct it.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, respected guests, our respected speaker, and our respected chair. So with the permission of the chair, sir, you can please proceed. Can we proceed, sir?
Sure,
Sir, are you
please.
ready?
Okay.
Yes, then, sir, over to...
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Shall I start?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Respected chairperson of the session, Professor Hussain, distinguished fellow speakers, respected participants, good afternoon to all of you. Let me thank the organizers of the webinar, particularly Dr. Sridhama Mishra, for giving me the opportunity to be the part of the webinar. Sorry. What I'm going to present here is a concern about the post-COVID-19 scenario from the point of view of coexistence and sustainability. The title of my presentation is COVID-19 Pandemic Challenges to Sustainable Coexistence. Sustainability is the ability to exist constantly. The avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. In the 20th century, it refers generally to capacity for the biosphere and human civilization to coexist. All these are definitions from the popular sources. Coexist means to exist together at the same time or in the same place. In other words, to live in peace with another or others despite differences, especially as a matter of policy. So
Sir, I'm interrupting you in
Yes.
between.
Yes.
You can just switch off your video, and it will enable us to consume less data, so that we'll be able to hear you more properly, because your video is actually
Okay.
not clear. So you can just switch off your video, and after your presentation you can just switch it on again.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
It's okay, no?
Yes, sir. It's okay now. It's okay.
Yes, sir. It's okay.
So in the beginning itself, we have to bring in the notion of justice to set side by side sustainability and coexistence. So this is the first point. When we couple sustainability and coexistence, we need to have the notion of justice. We are in Corona pandemic epoch. We still not know in full magnitude or enormity what exactly is it. However, we know that Corona COVID-19 pandemic has been on us as a millennium changer. As Helen Rosner, a journalist, wrote in HuffPost, I quote, "Without future plans, we are living in an infinite present." This could be in simple language, the emotional undoing of ourselves by the pandemic. The infinite present, as Helen Rosner's therapist explained, is of course because we have no future plans, no anticipation of travel or shows and celebrations. It's an endless today, never tomorrow. It's an endless today, never tomorrow. Visualizing the future usually acts as a spur for excitement or motivation. So it's understandable that for some people, this new way of living can become totally numbing. Without stimulation, we can start to feel as though our life has no meaning, she says. Repetitiveness runs the risk of making us lose interest in life because our brains love new things to explore and figure out, unquote. So in other words, this is the psychological or mental impact of the pandemic, which mildly or largely dehumanizes us. It is dehumanizing us. So this we have reached. That is, both sustainability and coexistence as acts of justice and harmony fail to bloom due to the above mentioned dehumanization. Now let us come to the mundane reality created by the pandemic. As pointed out by Nouriel Obini, the pandemic coincides with the coming greater depression of the 2020. Another threat justice question related to the internal links between society and coexistence. I consider Nouriel Rubini's paper and the points that it presents are important in understanding the post-COVID scenario. He says that COVID-19 crisis has arrived at a particularly bad moment for the global economy. I quote, "The world has long been drifting into a perfect storm of financial, political, socio-economic, and environmental risks, all of which are now growing even more acute. The first trend concerns deficits and their corollary risks, debts and defaults. The policy response to COVID-19 crisis entails a massive increase in fiscal deficits." Unquote. The second factor that he points out is the demographic time bomb in advanced economies. The COVID-19 crisis shows that much more public spending must be allocated to health systems because most developed countries have aging societies. Funding such outlays in the future will make the implicit debts from today's unfunded healthcare and social security systems even larger. We are facing it in India now. Particularly if you take the model of Kerala, Kerala is facing this problem now. The third issue is the growing risk of deflation. In addition to causing a deep recession, the crisis is also creating a massive slack in the form of unused machines and capacity and mass unemployment. This is in store for us. It will come to us soon. A fourth factor that he highlights is the currency debasement. In the short run, governments will need to run monetized fiscal deficits to avoid depression and deflation. Yet over time, the permanent negative supply shocks from accelerated deglobalization and renewed protectionism will make stagflation all but inevitable. Stagflation. Stagflation means stagnant in the form of high unemployment and inflation, high inflation. The fifth issue is the broader digital disruption of the economy. With millions of people losing their jobs or working and earning less, the income and wealth gaps of the 21st century economy will widen further. To guard against future supply chain shocks, companies in advanced economies will reshore production from low-cost regions to higher-cost domestic markets. This is happening already. But rather than helping workers at home, this trend will accelerate the pace of automation, putting downward pressure on wages and further feeding the flames of populism, nationalism, and xenophobia. Politically, this is going to be the biggest of danger. It has already happened in the last Great Depression of 1921, and this is happening already now. And along with, just a political observation I'm making, along with the surge in some kind of right-wing populism, this is happening. This points to the sixth major factor, that is deglobalization. The pandemic is accelerating trends towards balkanization and fragmentization that were already well underway. It was there, we know. And if you look at the history of European Union, United States of America, then different parts of Africa, you know that this balkanization was taking place before the pandemic. The United States and China will decouple faster, and most countries will respond by adopting still more protectionist policies to shield domestic firms and workers from global disruptions. The post-pandemic world will be marked by higher restrictions on the movement of goods, services, capital, labor, technology, data, and information. This is already happening in the pharmaceutical, medical equipment, and food sectors, where governments are imposing export restrictions and other protectionist measures in response to the crisis. The backlash against democracy will reinforce this trend. All these are telling upon the nature and power of democracy. Populist leaders often benefit from economic weakness, mass unemployment, as we have seen already, and increasing inequality. Under conditions of heightened economic insecurity, there'll be a strong impulse to scapegoat foreigners for the crisis. Blue-collar workers and broad cohorts of the middle class will become more susceptible to populist rhetoric, particularly proposal to restrict market and trade. Started. Now I invite your attention into the environmental rights and justice dimension of coupling sustainability and coexistence. We started with the justice dimension. Now we are coming to environmental rights and justice. It has been strongly pointed out that the outbreak of COVID pandemic has direct links with the global warming and carbon emission. It's debatable. Some people may not agree, but many studies have come out making the connection very, very established. Environmentalists tell us now that we have reached a point of no return in solving the ecological damage that we have created, or in overcoming the Anthropocene-induced climate change, man-made climate change. We have to live with the climate change. We cannot go back. Carbon emission has gone to the extremes. Mitigation effort looks so based. I was reading IPCC report environment, carbon emission due to consumption of an American or say one from the developed nation is 27 tons. Whereas the average per capita carbon emission due to consumption of a poor third world developing country is 1.5 tons. That means 500 plus crore people's less carbon emission or less consumption or poverty is that which makes our planet survive. So what is the meaning of third world countries and developed countries or underdeveloping countries? The so-called developed countries and the globe is surviving because of the underdeveloped, developing countries. Because of poverty, we are surviving now, not because of anything else. So development and the protectionism related to development is becoming a fake word. In one of the World Economic Forum write-up, it is mentioned that first about planet, human activity strongly related to climate change. The lockdown has resulted in rare sighting of blue skies from Beijing to Delhi. Worldwide carbon dioxide emissions are predicted to fall 8% in 2020. And about people, it says, COVID-19 has been hailed a big equalizer. As I told at the beginning, a big game changer. But the reality is that we are not equally resilient as a society. Socioeconomic status is strongly related to vulnerabilities of all sorts, poor and privileged, in harm's way to the disproportionate extent. And about profit, we cannot survive for a long time without economic activity and the creation of financial value. Millions of businesses are failing in the face of the pandemic, and as many as 40% of business may not reopen after this disaster. So, in essence, we need to manage climate-related risks, strengthen our social fabric, and inspire economic activity that creates value for humankind if we are to create a world that is sustainable and well-equipped to combat impending crises. So thinkers highlight that environmental disruption, as the COVID-19 crisis has shown, it can wreak far more economic havoc than financial crisis, than any kind of recession. Recurring epidemic, for example, HIV since 1980s, SARS in 2003, H1N1 in 2009, MERS in 2011, Ebola in 2014-16, are like climate change, essentially man-made disasters. Born poor health, sanitary standards, abused natural systems, and the growing interconnectivity of a globalized world. One of the great of our time, Bruno Latour, tells us that this global catastrophe or the pandemic that come not from the outside like a war or an earthquake, but from within. It is coming within. Viruses are completely inside us. We cannot completely eject them. We must learn to live with them. Leto continues to remind us. The first lesson the coronavirus taught us, he wrote, is also the most astounding. We have actually proven that it is possible in a few weeks to put an economic system on hold everywhere in the world. We could stop the things. Many of us were thinking that it's impossible. Different ideologies, we cannot stop. Free market economy, we cannot stop. Industrialization, we can stop. We stopped everything. We are forced to stop. In other words, the pandemic has been more determinant on the civilizational change at a global level compared to instruments like global ideas and ideologies, modernity, science and technology, globalization, free markets, and so on. Or in the process of reversing many institutional frameworks which are thought to be impossible to change. They include modern globalized world, its culture of production and profit, which were creating a huge unbridgeable gap between anthropos and nature, and thus induce man-made ecological and environmental crisis. Again, to listen to Rubini, I quote, the risks he pointed out, along with already looming large before COVID-19 struck, now threaten to fuel a perfect storm that sweeps the entire global economy into a decade of despair. By the 2030, technology and more competent political leadership may be able to reduce, resolve, or minimize many of these problems, giving rise to a more inclusive, cooperative, and stable international order. But any happy ending assumes that we find a way to survive the coming Greater Depression. That's what he's telling. We have to overcome the depression. We have to find a way out. We means the entire globe, the whole of humanity. I think it's a little scary as well as a dose of mild optimism. This is my optimism. It's scary as well. That is, if we can overcome the Greater Depression, giving rise to a more inclusive, cooperative, stable international law, that's what we call global democracy, cosmopolitan democracy, global planetary ethics, inclusive intercultural rights regimes, and so on. All these years through a combination of sustainable coexistence and resultant ideals of justice and intergenerational justice. In other words, sustainable coexistence presupposes global democracy, cosmopolitan democracy, global planetary ethics, inclusive intercultural rights regimes, and so on, through a combination of sustainable coexistence and resultant ideals of justice and intergenerational justice. That means intergenerational justice and intergenerational justice. Environmental justice means the fair treatment of and meaningful involvement of people, regardless of race, color, national origin, or income, with respect to the implementation and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. Environmental justice demands the same degree of protection from environmental and health hazards. Secondly, equal access to the decision-making process to have a healthy environment in which to live, learn, and work. Sustainability as a sustainable coexistence, environmental ethics, and development envisions sustainability as sustainable coexistence and sustainable development as sustainable ethics envisions biospherical equality, wherein our rude anthropocentrism or man-centeredness is rejected by biocentrism and ecocentrism. Sustainability considers the interests of all sentient creatures, including subsequent generations, stretching into the far future. It is accompanied by an aesthetic of appreciation of wild places and unspoiled nature. Environmental ethics and the idea of sustainable development put their emphasis on symbols which gathers pleasure not from conspicuous and greedy consumption. Instead, the symbol life imagined here takes pleasure from warm, personal, man relationship, from being close to children and friends, from conversation, from sports, and recreations that are in the harmony with our environment instead of being harmful to it. So a very harmonious relationship with nature, that is basically sustainable relationship. Of course, we should not forget about the intergenerational justice. But as we have seen above, the COVID pandemic crisis challenge the justice, environmental justice needs, and thus challenge sustainable coexistence. Point that I've made. It is challenging, this combination. So I'll sum up it briefly. The pandemic can directly affect issues like weakening of democracy. The heart of democracy is personal liberty and citizen rights. In the name of corona emergency, personality and citizen rights may be easily violated and suspended. Corona racism may pull from inside another basic virtue of democracy, that's equality. Second point, food security. Can we provide food and meet the basic needs of millions of migrant laborers, millions of, including us, and migrant laborers, rural poor, daily wage laborers, and the jobless, invalids, and the old, is a major challenge. If there is no food security, there can be even food riots. Social security is another important point. If our systems fail due to the pandemic, what all alternatives do we? I'm very sorry to make the statement, we don't have any alternative yet. Failure of education and higher education. If the system of education and higher education and its basic principle of public social gathering in the universities, colleges, schools, etc., which is also the core principle of civil society, are affected by the pandemic due to its persistence in the form of possible relapse when the climatic conditions are repeated, as some of the studies have told us, we will have to find out alternative modes of learning and the creation of knowledge. Mere technological alternatives cannot help us. We are in a big debate all over India now, how or to what extent we can justify online education, particularly when it comes to education. I don't personally think online education can replace face-to-face, one-to-one interaction, which is taking place in universities and classes. Because there we have the prototype of civil society. People meet with each other. People share things. Along with the above issues that I have drawn attention to the earlier listed out evils, nationalism and deglobalization, weakness in insecurity, mass unemployment, and rising inequality discussed earlier, make the future of sustainable existence bleak. Extremely sorry to make the statement. However, the thinkers and philosophers don't lose their hope. That is the plus point. We have a lot of thinkers, we have great minds who always tell us, no, we cannot stop here now. We have to improve. For example, Santiago Zabala, one of our great thinkers of our time, has reminded us this pandemic requires global collaboration. We need global collaboration, responsibility, and solidarity in which there is no place for indifference in the name of profit. We have a lot of ideologies, including free market. We have a lot of differences, cultural differences, religious differences. We have to go beyond that with a cosmopolitan understanding. Otherwise, we cannot come together. Searching for disruptive innovations is a sign of indifference rather than solidarity. Unquote. Then another thinker, great thinker, Klaus Zizek, a philosopher, he says, quote, there is no return to normal after the COVID-19 pandemic. We are in a fool's paradise. We think that after 5 months or 6 months or 8 months or 1 year, COVID time will come to an end. No, we won't come back to the old normalcy. The new normal will have to be constructed on the ruins of our old lives, or we will find ourselves in a new barbarism whose signs are already clearly discernible. It will not be enough to treat the epidemic as an unfortunate accident, to get rid of its consequences and return to the smooth functioning of the old way of doing things. We will have to raise the key question: what is wrong with our system that we were caught unprepared by the catastrophe, despite scientists warning us about it for years. Last 60, 70 years, futurologists, environmentalists, scientists, great minds, from Einstein onwards, were warning us about this great man-made disasters that we inflicted on nature and on us. But we were unthoughtful of it. We were thinking about profit. So we have to think about the system. That's what Zizek is telling. This critical reflection as silver line hope has been expressed by many authors. Jaita Mukhopadhyaya wrote in The Statesman. She's from your region, from Calcutta. In countries like India, where benefits of globalization have accrued unevenly to the different sections of the society, pushing the poor more towards the periphery, while the affluent has suffered, the situation has been ripe for the emergence of majoritarian governments in the garb of nationalist dispensation. But the pandemic led to a paradigmatic shift in this politico-economic matrix, as there is a surge demand more in the cities. Our governments are doing it. Our governments are forced to do it, and they are doing it. Life after Corona demands more compassion. Many of our scientists and philosophers and thinkers are coming to old terminology: compassion, better fellow feeling, and restrained actions to ensure better harmony with nature. Another academic, C.B. Bhattacharya, he is from the University of Pittsburgh. He says, I quote, COVID-19 offers a chance to reshape the world in a more sustainable way. It is up to every individual and corporation to take ownership of the future. Here are 3 steps business leaders can take to hasten this vital transition. Much has been said about the opportunities to reset that COVID affords us. We can reset specific industries such as aviation, healthcare, and energy, the way finance systems work, the way we tackle climate change, and even our chosen brand of capitalism. We can imagine another world, one in which we can sustain ourselves as envisioned in the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and collectively prosper if we start from the ground up with lessons from the pandemic. Unquote. We started our discussion with the importance and play of the notion of justice in coupling sustainability and coexistence. Later, we encountered the coming together of sustainability and coexistence, which invoked intergenerational justice along with intragenerational justice in living together in line with biospherical equality. I think it's time to think about intergenerational justice more in understanding the relationship between sustainability and coexistence. Nature, as Richard Hills, a very interesting environmentalist, says, is characterized by the irrevocable interconnection of all things, dead, living, and not yet born. Only the environmental rights offer the reciprocity between future and past, which makes the present. Unquote. Therefore, we have thinkers like Christian Schrader pleading for principle of prima facie political equality as the axiomatic basis of environmental justice between generations. Environmental justice refers to both a specialized meaning of justice and a movement. Both manifest the attempt to equalize the burden of pollution, noxious development, and resource depletion. We have a host of thinkers theorizing the intergenerational justice, environmental rights, like John Rawls. It's on the basis of care and altruism. Brian Barry, who grounds it on some notion of equal opportunity across generations. Both of them rely not on justice, but on some idea of charity. I told you, we are coming back to the old notions of compassion. We are coming back to charity. Avner D. Shalit puts forward the intergenerational rights argument on the basis of the concept of transgenerational community. Third one is community. Perhaps following Sandel and Taylor and their concept of identity, which is constitutive of the past generation, shall it extend it up to the future generation? As he says, our identity as citizens and individuals is framed on the basis of our connection with future generation of the community to which we belong. He says, I quote, in recognizing our justice obligations to the future generations, we serve ourselves. I think we complete a picture. I presented a little bit of bleak picture as challenge to sustainable coexistence. But I'm again telling that there is hope if we have wonderful global ideas like solidarity, cosmopolitanism, compassion, charity, and community. I conclude my presentation with a positive note that though the challenges to sustainable coexistence due to the pandemic that have drawn attention to are real, the human solidarity as cosmic compassion and the willingness to recognize otherness through mutual recognition of life worlds and cultures, different forms of life and nature will overcome the challenges one by one. We have no other go. We have to survive, we have to live, we have to overcome the pandemic. We shall overcome. Thank you so much. I thank the organizers of the webinar again, and a special thanks to Dr. Sridharma Mishra. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our respected chair, Mr. Khandokar Mukaddem Hussain. Sir, can you please unmute yourself? Sir, your audio is not yeah, exactly. It is not audible. Sir, can you kindly unmute yourself? Shubidda, can you kindly help sir in unmuting himself?
With the, I think we have to.
এই আমার এন্ড থেকে তো আনমিউট আছে
Acha. Sir, can you kindly please unmute yourself? I think sir is trying from sir's end. Thank you, Dr. Thomas, for your speech and for your lecture. I hope it has basically invoked a lot of questions. It has actually. We have got 3 to 4 questions with us. Can we wait 1 to 2 minutes for our respected chair so that with his permission we can start the interactive session?
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, okay. Absolutely all right.
Thank you, sir.
It got disconnected.
Shubir, sir,
Sahedi.
connect karo.
I
Okay.
think it is now disconnected. Yeah.
Okay, sir got disconnected. So can we proceed with the
Sir is
questions?
connected, but his video is off.
Oh, sir is there?
Sahili, sir is there.
স্যার ইজ देयर
Okay, but unfortunately his audio is not audible.
I think there is a technical problem.
Okay.
Sahili, you can continue. I think you can continue with other questions. That would be.
Okay, okay. With the permission of the respected organizers, then I am proceeding with the question, sir. The first question has come from Dr. Saurabh Mudhur De. He is a faculty member, assistant professor of Department of Sociology, Bardhaman University. Sir, he wants to know, sir, you have used the term emotional undoing. So he wants to know, what does this actually signify?
Yes. Shall I answer?
Yes, sir. Please.
So here,
Sir,
yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
here I was quoting Helen Rosner. She was telling, see, we are living a never-ending day. We have no future. We have no planning. We cannot move around. We cannot travel. We are living in a long day. So emotionally, what is your feeling? Emotionally, we feel that we are dumped in a corner. We are supposed to have a very beautifully enjoyable nature around us, our relationship, friendship, gathering, interaction. All these are curtailed or made minimal. So psychologically or mentally, we are delimited. So what I'm trying to argue here, this is the point raised by Helen Resner, but I'm trying to see here a very important connection between sustainability and coexistence. For sustainability, you please remember the definition that we have made. It is living with a view for the future and living constantly. For living constantly and for living with an understanding of intergenerational justice of the future generation, and to coexist, we need to have minimum psychological health. And that health is being challenged. That's what I meant. It's emotionally making us delimited. So that's a point. And all other points which followed after that are all more physical, social, cultural, and economic or political. So this is emotional, psychologically affecting us, making us very, very, very weak. Hope I have answered you. I got your question correctly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I hope so. Actually, what I understood from Sir's lecture is that the constant struggle between maintaining sustainability, coexisting, and the fight to procure justice is basically creating an emotional strain, a psychological strain among us. If I'm not wrong, sir.
No, not that. Actually, this connection is basically human.
Exactly.
And if we are made in emotional curtailing due to the pandemic, some kind of an isolation, we are dehumanized. I use the word dehumanized.
Dehumanized. Yes, sir.
We are made lesser human beings.
Exactly.
Being lesser human being, you cannot aspire and work for justice.
Exactly. Exactly.
Only a full-fledged human being can work and aspire for justice. That's what I was trying to tell.
Exactly.
Okay? Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's why I use the word emotional,
Emotion.
what you call delimitation or
Undoing.
Undoing, emotionally undoing human beings and making them dehumanized.
Dehumanized. Sir, we have another question.
Yes.
It is the question is from Mr. Shankarshun Chakraborty. He is from Ashutosh College, if I'm not wrong. Sir, he has asked, sir, please explain the term point of no return.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. This is a phrase which is used because we cannot actually go back from there. Suppose you're traveling, you're coming from Calcutta to Silchar. How do you travel? Suppose you're coming by road, coming on a bus or a car, and you have to cross several bridges, cross many rivers. Suppose all these bridges, all the roads are destroyed. You cannot go back from here to Silchar. Suppose there's no air traffic also. You cannot go back. So that is the point of no return. You cannot go back to the previous state. Take the case of environmental problem. Some 40 years back, when we proposed sustainable development, sustainable living, there was a time when humanity could go back through forestation or reforestation, recreating nature, making less carbon emission. All these things were possible. Now we have come to a miserable situation wherein it is impossible to go back. All the bridges related with our common humanity are destroyed. So we cannot go back. We are lost in a place. We have to live there. Suppose you reach a Jurassic Park. It's in an island. Your ship is gone, shipwrecked. Your flight is lost. Then you have to live with the dinosaurs. That is lost situation. It's a lost situation. But Corona pandemic told us, no, it is not lost. You can go back still. Okay?
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, we have two more questions. So Shritamadi, will you ask your question first?
Yeah, this is a question actually from one of our participant who has questioned in YouTube. She was asking, like, do you think that this online education and the entire e-learning system that we have adopted in this lockdown period, it has really actually generated opportunities, especially in countries like India and Bangladesh, where most of the studies, most of the students especially come from rural areas. And actually, she was asking this question in the context when we are talking about justice, because we were all talking about justice, we were all talking about maintaining a
Exactly.
balance between, yeah.
Exactly.
So this was one issue that she was actually raising. And
Yes.
yeah,
Have you completed the question?
yeah, this is what she
Yeah.
was writing.
I was actually specifically answered this question.
Yes,
First point, online education. We have no other alternative. Online education for me is a crisis generated system, nothing else. It is not normal system. You have no other go. So I've been taking online classes here, but because I have no other go.
Yes.
Particularly when it comes to higher education, there's a lot of problems. First of all, only 50 to 55 or 55 to 60% of the students all over India can afford to the state-of-the-art online systems of online education. 40% minimum of the students are out of this net. They are from the rural area, etc., etc. So this technological impossibility for majority, not majority, but a sizable majority group of students, it's impossible to reach. That's technical issue. Of course, we may improve. We can increase the net and make most of the students come into this network. But still, I feel that. That is the second point that I would like to raise. Online education, particularly when it comes to higher education, will be a big failure. That's what I said. It's a failure of democracy. Online education, university, where we sit and talk. For example, this webinar, we have no other way. We are doing webinar very well. But I was feeling suffocating or suffocated when I was speaking here without seeing you or without showing my face. So in face-to-face interaction, there's a lot of energy. Teachers give and take. Most of your teachers, you know that. You go to a class, interact with students, take questions, communicate with them. This is the first principle of communication. If in education there is no communication, then what is it?
Yes.
So this technological or gadgetized education, I am not for. But if humanity is opting for that, we have no other way. We have no other way. Suppose if this COVID-19 and they are telling some more viral diseases are coming, we can't go out. We are becoming increasingly dehumanized, increasingly emotionally undone as human beings, and our education also will become dehumanized. There is no other way.
Exactly.
But this justice question related with this.
Yes, sir. Bolun.
Yeah. This justice question related with online education is very, very important. And it is injustice.
Exactly.
Online education, in one word, particularly when it comes to higher education, is injustice, because we need civil society, we need people, we need students, we need university system where people come together, talk to each other, go in debates, indulge in dialogue. You may say that we can do it in online mode also, but there is a limitation. And it makes it secondary. That's what I argue.
Exactly.
It may curtail democracy in the future. It's highly debatable. Highly debatable. Suppose if somebody is coming out with a technology where they can use hologram, a teacher can go to a classroom in the form of a hologram, This may come in the future, I do not know.
Exactly. And artificial intelligence is also there.
Artificial intelligence is improving like anything.
Exactly.
Anything
yeah,
may
yes.
happen. Nanotechnology is improving like anything.
Yes.
But teachers
Exactly.
will also become part of nanotechnology, small teachers.
Exactly.
Not great teachers we see. I've seen great teachers. I've attended
Yes.
great teachers' classes. And as a philosophy student, I used to go to literature classes, Malayalam and English, because excellent teachers were giving lectures. And I avoid some of my philosophy classes and go to literature, to listen Malayalam professors or poets speaking, because those classes are coming from heaven.
Okay.
I still remember listening to my Malayalam teacher and my own uncle. My own uncle was a Sanskrit teacher. And these people teach Abhijnana Shagundala, Kalidasa and all.
Oh.
You are in heaven. You cannot do that. Perhaps that generation is gone and new generation is coming. New generation of nano teachers. Let's wait for that.
Exactly. Teacher in chips.
Teacher and chips. Yes.
Sir, exactly. Chipped teachers. Exactly.
Yes.
Sir, we have among us our guest, our respected guest, Mr. IQAC Khan, Managing Director, Medway Consultancy Services, UK. Mr. Khan, I would request you, if you have any thought to share or any question you may ask to our Dr. Thomas regarding his lecture.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. First of all, I compliment Dr. Thomas for presenting such a thought-provoking paper. That makes me feel that what he will hear from me is going to be something very, very basic. But my question to him is, he's already covered it, but I ask in a more specific way. Is growth compatible with sustainability? I mean, the perception is if you have growth, you have all the good things that flow from it. But we know that, for instance, the energy that you need in generating that growth has a detrimental effect on the environment. I mean, are we wrongly obsessed with positive growth? Can negative growth not be necessarily a good thing, where we kind of have growth that matches with the sustainability in terms of environmental damage? That is my question.
So thank you. It's a very, very interesting question. Debates are going on. Actually, our concept of development and growth is to be corrected and mend with sustainable growth. Simple answer. Growth, there is a limit. As our Upanishads or Christian spirituality, or even Mahatma Gandhi or Buddha would advise us, there is enough for our need, not for our greed. This is what Mahatma Gandhi has told us. And these kind of ideals should actually modify our concept of growth. That's what I think. And of course, when we think about unlimited growth without considering nature, even human nature, we forget this wonderful principle of sustainable growth, which actually was advocated by almost all the religions. Some kind of a cosmic mutuality. It should be there in our growth. We cannot be unendingly growing. There is a limitation for all our growth. COVID pandemic is teaching us that. The limit you have to accept. A small virus, a small creature, which is just an RNA, is telling the most powerful species on the world, you sit at home. We have made technological growth in many ways, in the form of powerful countries, ideologies, then whatnot, scientific growth in many ways, different kinds of technologies. But a small virus is telling that you are part of the nature, you're part of the biosphere. So it is a blow to our anthropocentrism. It is a kind of caution to the concept of growth that we have, if it is wrongly understood. At the same time, sustainability is coming from a very important understanding, if I understand it correctly. That is, we have natural environment and we have cultural environment, man-made cultural environment. Of course, there is an element of growth and development in that. We have to communicate. All our communication, all our growth related with medicine, life expectancy, many things related with social justice is part of this man-made environment. That is culture in one word. But there is a third realm, which is an over-ambitious notion of growth. That is technological nature. And whenever we try to make technological nature, or we try to transform the natural environment and the cultural environment in a violent way to technological environment, they've started their doom. So growth should be within the realm of man-made environment. It should not go to technological man-made environment. I was trying to answer your question. This cannot be answered easily. There are so many nuances and color and dimensions to this. This is to be perhaps discussed from each and every knowledge or discipline. That is from economics point of view, from business administration's point of view, from philosophy's point of view, from sociology's point of view, cultural point of view, technology's point of view. But I humbly request to all those who are present there, the concept of our growth should be transdisciplinary or interdisciplinary. It should be humanized, not dehumanized. I hope I could minimally respond to your query.
You have answered my question. I'm hoping that with this pandemic, the powerful groups who have been partly responsible for this growth and increase in inequality, I'm talking about big corporations and billionaires, that they will realize that when it comes to this coronavirus, or any virus for that matter, human life has the same value. And they rethink that we should have a more sustainable growth, more sustainable economic order that takes care of the less advantaged people in society. That is also a very big challenge that we are now facing today.
Okay, so rightly said. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. We are glad to see that we have got our respected chair, Professor K.M. Hossain, back with us. Sir, apologies from Belda College that we had continued without your presence due to some technical session. Sorry about that, sir. Sir, now the session is handed over to you. You may continue, sir.
If you have any questions, you may please.
Sir, you may now proceed with your...
Thank you. In the meantime, discussion is already going on actually. I understand because I was last one. So I followed Mr. Thomas' total presentation. It was wonderful actually. So he basically talked about the challenges to sustainable coexistence. And while he was talking about this particular situation, he also brought the notion of environmental justice and ethics and morality. He has also brought a lot of variables in the context of political, social, economic, environmental issues, and global warming, greenhouse effect, and its after effect. COVID is partly responsible, what he has mentioned about. And outcome of this particular COVID has also been spelled out by Professor Thomas. At the same time, he has also mentioned the lot of challenging that has developed globally actually. And after effect of this particular COVID is also part of the deglobalization, fragmentation, and also restrictions of connectivity in terms of goods and services, technology, and there are a lot of mass employment and economic insecurity, especially in the third world country. And he also mentioned about the nature of environmental disaster, which is very much related to this kind of COVID situation. And as part of this kind of global catastrophe, and he say that this is nothing but one kind of outcome of the humanity is very much part of ethics, and sustainability is also part of a lot of negative situation, biocentrism, ecocentrism, and he has also talked about the role of the democracy, citizens' rights, equity, equality, food security, joblessness, and also educational devastation. And alternatively, he has also mentioned about the online educational possibility, and he has also talked about the ethical dilemmas and what is right or what is wrong within this particular existing system, and also he has mentioned about the structural barriers about this particular development situation. And finally, what he has said, that sustainable development should be part of the intergenerational justice, peace, rights, and coexistence. Nature, we need to live with this particular natural balance. And what I can say finally, that the term sustainable development was introduced by Brundtland, and Brundtland has one classical, he was the Norwegian ex-prime minister actually. She has the most prominent report, that our common future. Within this particular our common future, what Dr. Thomas has said, this particular report has reflected about the sustainability of next generation, and how this particular sustainability of next generation should be part of intergenerational development process that has already been vividly narrated by Brundtland. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your very interesting observations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your very illuminating talk.
I have a small request to make.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry if it is wrong. I will share a small video. It's a very interesting, just 1 or 2 minutes video.
Sure, sir. Sure.
It's a small movie. If you can share this on the screen, it'll be very nice. I won't do it. I'll send it to Sweetama, WhatsApp through just now, and she can do it now or later.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can even send it to me right now. If
let me see.
yeah.
Sritama,
Yes, bolo.
Sritama, sir can share his screen.
Yeah, okay, I'll share.
Okay.
I'll share.
It has come to you, Sritama. It has come to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sharing the screen now. I'm sharing the screen.
Please.
Yes.
that video didn't come properly. Actually, he's a blind man. He was having a small fish in a jar. Suddenly, the phone, phone was ringing. So by mistake, the jar falls down, and the fish is out of the jar. The jar was broken, and he doesn't know what to do. He's blind. He was searching for the fish, not able to get it. And there's a small hole through which the water goes out. Immediately, he removes his coat, closes the door, the hole through which the water goes out, and he fills the room with water. He can't find out the fish. Fish will die without water. And after a few seconds, the fish is coming and touching his hand. It's a very small thing, but it symbolically tells us the relationship with man and nature. And this is the way we should be responsible for other forms of life. Thank you. So that video didn't come properly because there was some kind of a lapse. Thank you. Thank you, the organizers, for showing that video.
Thank you so much, sir,
for sharing it with us.
It is an internationally acclaimed short film.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for sharing it with us, sir.
Very difficult to make such films with a lot of meaning, a lot of impact. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So much. But we could watch the video and we could get the meaning out of that. So thank you.
Yeah, very good, very good. Because the video was coming not in a proper pace.
It is because of the connectivity.
Because of the connectivity, yes. I could have shared it. I thought, no, let the official organizer do that. That's why.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
We can share it in our WhatsApp group. Sir, we can
please share it. Please share it. Please share it. Please share it. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so with this, we have come to the end of our first technical session. And we will begin our second technical session now. Let me just inquire to Dr. Lipika Mondol whether Dr. Shreya Bhattacharya, she has joined us or not.
Yes.
Has she joined?
Shreya?
Yes, I have joined.
Okay, madam. Okay. So
good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Okay. So we will straight away start our second technical session.
Shritamadi,
yes.
Like before that, can you please formally end the first technical session?
Yeah, you do that.
We have with us Dr. Muqaddar Hussain.
Yes.
Kindly.
So should I do the formal ending?
Yeah, do that.
Okay, so we come to the end of the first technical session. Thank you, our respected chair, Dr. K.M. Hussain, and thank you, our respected speaker, Dr. Pius V. Thomas. Thank you for your illuminating lecture. I hope our participants will get in touch with you through us with more questions if they have questions in their mind. Thank you so much, and we are actually honored to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Saheli, for conducting this session. Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Okay. So with the permission from our IQAC director and our organizing secretary, let me start with the second technical session.
Sritama?
Yes.
There is waiting Rakhidi.
Rakhidi has joined, I think. I think Rakhidi has joined. Rakhidi is here. Rakhidi has joined.
Okay. Yes, Rakhidi is very much present with us. We have to unmute Rakhidi.
So in our second technical...
I already unmuted me.
Okay.
Rakhidi, from your end, you have to unmute yourself. Shubhita has unmuted you.
Rakhidi, please unmute yourself.
It's still unmuted.
Muted. It's still
sorry,
muted,
sorry, it's still muted. Sorry.
Yeah. Rakhidi, please unmute yourself.
Okay, Sritama.
Okay, let me begin. Yeah. So in our second technical session, we have two speakers with us. Our first speaker is Mr. IQAC Khan, and our second speaker is Dr. Aditya Narayan Shen. So we will start with our first speaker, and in this session, our second technical session will be chaired by Dr. Shreya Bhattacharya. She is currently Associate Professor of the Department of English Studies, Central University of Jharkhand. So I welcome you, madam. I welcome you to chair this session. And in this session, we have with us our rapporteur, Dr. Rakhi Desh Sharma. She is currently an assistant professor in the Department of Physiology of Belda College. So, madam, I welcome you too. Okay. And before I hand over this session to Shreyadi, let me just introduce Mr. IQAC Khan, our first speaker. Okay, I'll just introduce Mr. IQAC Khan and then I'll hand over the session to Dr. Bhattacharjee. Okay, so Mr. IQAC Khan was born in India and then immigrated with his parents to Kenya, where he spent his formative years and where he has completed his schooling. And then he went to the United Kingdom to study civil engineering and decided to settle there after obtaining his bachelor's degree from London University in the year 1971. In 1981, he obtained his master's degree in civil engineering structures from the City University, London. His first overseas posting was in Libya in the year 1981, where he worked for 4.5 years, followed by Bangladesh in 1987, where he has remained ever since. Mr. Khan has worked on a number of engineering projects in Bangladesh, mainly bridges, including the Yamuna Multipurpose Bridge, when he was employed by a firm now known as Rendell Limited. This was the largest infrastructure project ever undertaken in Bangladesh, with profound impact on the economy of the country by that integrated northwest quadrant of the country, which was inhabited by 40 million people with the rest of Bangladesh. In 2009, he set up his own company, Medway Consultancy Services UK Limited, with its operational base in Dhaka. Following the Rana Plaza collapse in April 2013 that killed 1,200 people, his company has been involved in carrying out structural inspection of garment factories in Bangladesh and in Pakistan. Mr. Khan has been Institution of Civil Engineers representative in Bangladesh for over 30 years. He is member of ICE International Committee and chair of ICE South Asia region, which includes India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal. In 2009, he was made officer of the British Empire by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II of the UK for services to UK-Bangladesh trade and development relations and corporate social responsibility. The latter was his voluntary services that was rendered in connection with reconstruction of Mazharchar village in southwest Bangladesh that was inhabited by 140 poor and that was completely destroyed by cyclone SIDR in 2007. So this was a project with a number of transformative features that not only restored the village, but significantly improved the lives and livelihood of the villagers. He is also a recipient of the prestigious ICE International Medal 2009, which was instituted in 2002 and which is awarded annually to a civil engineer who had prime responsibility for an outstanding contribution to civil engineering outside the UK. So we are very honored to have you, sir, with us. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. So I now hand over this session to Dr. Shreya Bhattacharya. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session. We have with us a very distinguished speaker, Mr. IQAC Khan. So without further ado, I would request Mr. Khan to kindly make his presentation. Mr. Khan.
Thank you. Chair, Dr. Shreya Bhattacharya, reporter, Dr. Rakhi Sharma, Dr. Sritama Misra, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, namaste and good afternoon. I first congratulate Belda College and Bangladesh Open University for taking this initiative to have this conference, which has so much relevance, not only to India and Bangladesh, but the whole of the world. And the one paper that I listened to, I'm really very, very impressed. And also I should say that name Belda College I had not heard before, but now I very much know the good work that this university does. And you also have got a very good ambassador in Shushma Mukherjee, whom I met in Dhaka. That's how I came to know about your college. And she approached me and I said, look, I am a very simple engineer. This is something that should be done by intellectuals like yourselves and not me. She said, no, you can present anything on your personal experience. So that is exactly what it is. It is not a research paper. It is, I am, although living in Bangladesh, I am a British citizen. So I will present to you my experiences of living in the UK, having lived in Bangladesh for 32 years, coming back here and living in this pandemic and coping with it, which is not easy at all. Let us start with we are with this corona, we are in a ship which is in sometimes in calm water, sometimes it looks that it has got a storm, and we are heading, but we don't know when we will reach our destination and what we will encounter on the way. It'd be good to recap how we are where we are. This, as you know, this virus was reported from Wuhan province to WHO in December 2019. That's why it is called COVID-19. In fact, it was 31st of December when China reported to WHO. If it was 1st of January, we would be calling it COVID-20. A public health emergency was declared on the 30th of January. And then this was followed by declaration of a pandemic on the 11th of March. The UK lockdown was declared on the 23rd. It came into force on the 23rd of March. In Bangladesh, it was 26th of March. Initially, we decided to stay on in Bangladesh. I mean, the situation was quite good. Deaths were very few, if at all. And our life was quite comfortable. But then the British government issued advice to its citizens that they should return to the UK. There were no commercial flights. So there were flights organized by the British government, and we availed ourselves of one of those flights. So we left for the UK on 3rd of May. You might think, what is the rationale of leaving when in UK the death toll at that time was something like 500 per day, and in Bangladesh it was single figure. I suppose the logic of the government was that they have not allowed anybody in the UK to die without want of medical facility. The concern was that in Bangladesh, if there was a need, perhaps it would be difficult to source medical care. So that was the reason. And it was a difficult decision, consulted with my friends, and they advised me that it is better for you to go. Other consideration was, of course, I love Bangladesh. It is my second home, if not first home. But I have no relations, so that was another consideration. If something happened to me, at least I would with the relatives in the UK. So anyhow, we traveled on this British Airways flight to Heathrow, arrived at Heathrow. Heathrow, I'm sure many of you have traveled to, very, very busy airport. There was hardly anybody at the airport. And we were lucky that I had actually booked a taxi. And this guy was a South Indian who was running this taxi service. He was desperate for work because there was no work for taxi drivers. And he lived not far from Birmingham. That's where we came to. So we reached Birmingham midnight on the 3rd. So we arrived here in the UK with a completely lockdown situation. Now, the rationale behind, I'm sure you all appreciate, is lockdown is to reduce infection. By reducing infection, you flatten that curve. Instead of a peak reaching very quickly, you delay the peak, and the peak is not also that high, so that then the hospital service can cope with the demand. But of course, UK situation was so bad that it looked at one time that in London, the capacity of National Health Service was going to be overwhelmed by the virus. So they converted an exhibition hall in London to a 4,000 bed hospital. It was done by the army, was done very, very quickly. And in the event, it was used, but then later on, it was not necessary to use it. But 4,000 bed, which is a huge capacity, had to be created very, very quickly. The government here is advised by what they call SAGE, Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies. And Professor Neil Ferguson of Imperial College was a key member of the team. In fact, the scientific advice was issued, it's all coming out in the papers now, was issued on the 9th of March, 2 weeks before the Prime Minister decided to impose a full lockdown. Warning of the consequences. And in fact, Professor Neil Ferguson has now said last week that had that advice been followed, the deaths probably could have been halved. He is no longer member of the SAGE. He broke the lockdown rules, so he had to resign. This is another system here in the UK. It doesn't matter how powerful you are. If you are caught doing something which is not within the law, then you have to face the consequences. In Scotland, the chief medical officer, a lady, had to resign because she went to her second home, which she was not supposed to do. The Prime Minister, the Chief Minister of Scotland, tried to defend her and keep her in position, but the public anger was so strong, eventually she had to resign, she had to leave. Anyhow, life here was very, very strange. Everything closed down except essential services. And my friends here in Birmingham were bringing food, leaving it outside, ringing the bell and saying the food is on the outside your steps. I collect it, but we would talk through the window for a few minutes. That's very, very odd, very strange life. If I could ask, we also did not avail this, the government has organized delivery of food to those who cannot go shopping. We did not avail that. We actually did go to Sainsbury. We should have not done, but we took the precautions and we did go. I'd like to show just a few slides to show you what life has been like here in the UK and still is. If the Dr. Misra can put those slides, those pictures for me, please.
Okay, sir.
There are 4 pictures I sent you.
Yeah, just a minute. Can you view it?
Okay.
Yeah, this is the first screen. You can see that first picture rather, the car park where normally it would be full of people, cars. it's now, they have created a space where people can queue 2 meters behind each other. Next, please. Yeah, this is just a picture of Sainsbury from outside. Again, you can see, normally car park will be full, but beyond these cars, you can see there's nothing. Next, please. Yeah, this is inside of the Sainsbury. These lines that you see on the floor are every 2 meters. There are 2 things about this picture. You can see there's hardly anybody there. So that shows that how few people actually come for shopping or allowed to, because Sainsbury have a control. They allow so many people. When they have reached the number, then they stop. And they also a way of counting who are leaving. When there is room to accommodate more, then they allow a few more, and that's how. So even inside, you have to observe the 2 meter rule. Next one. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is, you can see nearer us, people doing their own self checking out. And beyond the checking out, you can see a counter with perspex, and a person is paying for his purchases. So this is a typical a store here in the UK now. Thank
Any
you.
more pictures?
No, that's fine now. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
This one, Dr. Misra, will come later on if we can.
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, sorry. So we'll carry on. I mean, it's the credit card limit here was £30 for just swiping. It was increased for £45, so that as less cash was exchange was taking place as possible. I went to a local post office to post a letter. Just for £2, I was encouraged to use my card, just swipe it, and not, no, they were not accepting payment. It was by card. There's no public transport. No restaurants were open. Some takeaways were open. The general practitioner surgeries were closed. If you wanted consultation, you had to call by phone and get advice. Our local pharmacy also was effectively closed. If you wanted anything, you had to phone, and they would then get in touch with the doctor and deliver the medicine to you. Food was generally ordered online. Of course, the result is the large number of people have become unemployed. Visiting people to your house was not allowed. My aunt died on the 7th of May here, about 150 miles from Birmingham in Kent. I could not attend her funeral because there was a limit on number of people who could attend. And of course, distance was such that it was not possible to do it in a day. You were not allowed to stay overnight anywhere. My son, who is a doctor, was affected by corona when I was in the UK. I have still not seen him, and he has not seen me because he works in a hospital. He doesn't think it is safe for him to come and see me or for me to go and see him, which is very painful, but that is the reality. So going back to the unemployed, the British government has been very good in supporting people and economy. There was what they call a furlough scheme. Those who could not go to work, they could be furloughed, and the government agreed to pay 80% of their salary, subject to a limit of £2,500. Also, there has been this bounce back loans and grants given to small businesses. And I would say that my company, which is a small business, I availed of that because right now here in UK, my office in Dhaka is closed. Until 1st of June, on 1st of June, there was further relaxation of this lockdown rules. First relaxation came on 1st of June. Until then, you could not leave your house without valid reason. And that valid reason was either go to purchase medicine, food. But 6 people could meet in their gardens, keeping the 2-meter distance. 2 people could meet indoors. Saturday, this last Saturday, 13th June, they have relaxed it more. Single elderly persons can meet their children and grandchildren. Households can create support bubbles. That is, one household can associate with another household and visit, stay with each other. I think this idea of support bubble comes from New Zealand. Apart from anything else, this has had an tremendous emotional drain on people, this lockdown. The number of divorces definitely going to increase. There have been need to call police more than is normal. So the price of this pandemic is not only economic, but also emotional. Today in UK, non-essential services, shops, clothes, electronic shops have opened. But again, there has to be this 2-meter distance. And when you go to the shop, there is going to be, I saw pictures of Primark in Birmingham. There were queues on the pavement, very, very long queues, because they will allow limited number of people. And inside the store, if any item is touched, that will be then at the end of the day removed and kept away from the store for 72 hours. There was a plan to open primary schools, but the government had to backtrack on that because they found that it was not viable with the 2-meter distance. There is a talk about opening bars and restaurants from 4th of July, but still following this 2-meter distance. And if a 2-meter distance is followed, then only 25% of the bars will open. If the distance is reduced to 1 meter, now some countries have 1 meter, like Singapore and Australia. Germany has 1.5 meters. France has 1 meter. WHO recommendation is 1 meter. And there is a huge debate here whether we should consider reducing it to a lower value. So the Prime Minister has ordered a review of this, and that will have a huge impact if it is reduced to less than 2 meters. There are 5 tests for opening the economy. One is that there should be adequate NHS capacity. There should be a sustained and considered fall in daily deaths. The peak was reached on the 8th of April when we were getting something like over 1,000 deaths per day. It was yesterday, it was 36, but normally on the weekend it is not fully reported because all the figures don't come in. So maybe today's figure will be actually higher. Infection rate has decreased. The infection rate is less than 1. It is believed in the UK it is from 0.7 to 0.9. Other tests for reopening the economy is that operational challenges like 1,000 tests per day. And they want to obviously avoid risk of second pandemic. Another initiative, a major initiative, is test and trace and isolate. This started 2 weeks ago. They have engaged 25,000 staff just for this. I know in Indian context, 25,000 may not be large, but we are dealing with a population of about 65 million in the UK. So that's a very large number and a huge cost. So 67% of the contacts were traced. Other 1/3 were not. That is a bit of a concern, but then every person that was tested and traced, they had 6 other contacts, average of 6 other contacts. So 85% of those have responded, and they are hoping that these figures will improve. And this is a big thing that the government is relying on to contain this virus, that is test and trace and isolate. A thing that has been very successfully done in Germany and New Zealand. So that is the life here, and those are the impacts. Now let's look at where we are. Dr. Misra, if I could have the next slide, please.
Yes, sir. Sure. Yeah, is it visible?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
So you can see that UK here on this slide is the second highest, but it has been overtaken by Brazil. Brazil is now over 42,000, and UK is still under 42,000. That was expected. Just looking at the figures, UK is the highest in Europe, and the death toll. Per capita, death is 611 per million, which is the second highest. Belgium is the highest with 832, but perhaps Belgium is not a very good example because it's not a very large population, it's very compact. So sadly, UK hasn't got very good statistics on this. Spain was 580, slightly below UK, Italy 566, and Germany only 106. It's a European country, same size of population as UK. Germany has 83 million population. Still, it's 106 per million. That's very good. And this compares with China, which is only 3. And India and Bangladesh is only 6. Pakistan is 11. Now, what is the ultimate solution? I mean, one solution, of course, is to develop this herd immunity, which then you pay a price. But here in the UK, a concerted effort is going on to develop a vaccine. And it looks like that Oxford and Imperial College, Oxford University and Imperial College are making good progress. Oxford University has reached agreement with AstraZeneca to make these drugs. Challenge now is to find area where they can test this, and they are looking at Brazil because Brazil, things are out of control. 100 million vaccines are to be produced by AstraZeneca for UK and further 300 million for USA by September, October this year. A licensing agreement has been reached with Serum Institute of India to supply 400 million by December, another 600 later for low and middle income countries. Bill Gates is providing $1.6 billion towards this project. What are the long-term, sorry?
Mr. Khan, may I request you to kindly come to the conclusion, because our next speaker is also about to tune in.
Okay. Well, I think some of the...
I hate to do this, but then
No, fine. I wasn't sure. Yeah, I just the big negative impact is going to be world poverty increase. In the UK, we are going to have huge unemployment. The economy contracted by 20.4% annualized in April, and they think that it will be possibly 33% in May, full lockdown month. Unemployment will be 1 in 10 persons compared to 3.9 prior to the COVID. So, and other very interesting thing is this report was not released by the government. The ethnic minorities have been disproportionately affected. 94% of the doctors who died in the UK were either Black or Asian, and that is extremely worrying. So I think I have given you most of what I wanted to say, and I don't know if there's time for any questions. I think I've reached my time limit of 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. That was a really illuminating talk covering all aspects of life in UK under the pandemic. And more importantly, you also made us see how the pandemic has acted as a grand leveler, affecting people from all walks of life. If there is time, we can take just one question. Dr. Lipika, if there is time, we can take just one question. Or we will move on to
Good afternoon. Actually, I don't see any question Zoom or YouTube.
Okay. I think Dr. Sahili Chaudhary, I think she has a question. Please, madam. Yeah, you may just carry on.
One observation, please.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes. Yes, please.
Sir, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
sir, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. IQAC Khan. Actually, he is a very close friend of ours in Bangladesh and Dhaka, and we have wonderful relationship. Initially, the way he was presenting and the way he was saying that it is not a paper, rather it's the experiences, but the way he has presented this particular paper, it is more than a research paper. I do congratulate Mr. IQAC Khan, and the reality is that the UK situation is not lesser than either Bangladesh or India, because it's hard hit country and the mortality rate is the second highest mortality rate in the global situation. One observation to Mr. IQAC Khan, that is about statistics, death toll. There are three statistics actually: 40,000, 50,000, and 62,000. And this is a big dilemma actually. So would you please clarify this particular statistics of mortality out of COVID? Thank you.
Yeah. First, Professor Makabban, very nice to see you, and I hope your better half is safe and well. Please pass on my good wishes to her, Mahbooba Nasreen. The statistics that I have, I will get them in front of me. They are from the Times newspaper, publishes them every day. That right at the top, you have the total number of deaths. Today's is changed from yesterday. Nearly 8 million people have been affected, and the deaths have been 433.
Okay.
Now, what I don't have is, this is what you're alluding to. We have, you have three columns. If Dr. Misra can put the slide, then we can have a look together.
Yes, sure.
Sitama,
Yes.
Dr. Sitama.
Yes.
Dr. Sahili has one question, last question. I will just ask that.
Sahili, are you listening?
Sir,
Yeah. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself.
That is me?
No,
No,
sir.
no, no, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I'm asking.
Dr. Rakhi.
No, I'm asking.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Oh, you were not audible at
Sir,
all.
from
Sohaili, you were not audible at all. So I think you please.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, yes. It
Yes.
is
Okay.
absolutely okay.
please you go ahead. Yes,
Should I ask the question, Rakhidi?
Yes,
yes, you go.
Sir, I have one small question. That is, there are many rough sleepers in Europe who sleep, in UK, who sleeps on the street. So, sir, what provision has the government made for those rough sleepers in this pandemic condition?
Yes, that's a very, very good question.
Thank you, sir.
Basically, what the government is doing is they are supporting the charities. There were always charities that existed for homeless people. And in this pandemic, I think they have been receiving more generous and more sympathetic support from the government. So I would say that government has really taken care of most people in this pandemic. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sita ma'am.
Yes.
Dr.
Yeah.
Sitam, sir. Doctor is.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Sitam, go ahead.
Okay.
Welcome, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, actually, we have a series of questions, but due to time constraint, we are unable to take up many questions. So I think the persons who have their questions in mind, they will definitely ask you through email. So I'll ask them to post questions through email. And now we have with us Dr. Aditya Narayan Sen. So I'll request, welcome, sir. I'll request Dr. Shreya Bhattacharya to please introduce himself and take up the session.
Dr. Shreya Bhattacharya.
Yes.
Please, yeah. Can you please kindly introduce Dr. Aditya Narayan Sen to our guests and participants?
Okay. First of all, I would like to welcome Dr. Aditya Narayan Sen today on this platform. Dr. Sen is one of the leading surgical oncologists of India today. He has done his MBBS from Arjikar Medical College, Kolkata, and went on to do his FRCS from Royal College of Surgeons, Edinburgh. He was trained in oncoplastic breast cancer surgery at RCS, England. He is presently working as surgical oncologist in Saroj Gupta Cancer Research Institute, Amri, and Bellevue Clinic, Kolkata. In the past, he has served CNCI Kolkata and TMH Mumbai. It is our privilege to have him with us today. Dr. Sen, the platform is all yours.
Thank you. Namaskar. I would like to thank Dr.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar. Good afternoon. Welcome to this new world. It is really a new world we are dealing with. It's not that our previous world where we used to live. We have to live and we have to enjoy our life in this new world. Today, our point of view is to how to prevent this COVID-19. I would like to thank Professor Shreya Bhattacharya, Professor Lipika Mondol for inviting me to this honest August gathering. Thank you so much. Today we'll discuss a little bit about how to prevent, because this viral disease, till date we don't have any medicine, proper medicine rather, any vaccines, and also in near future there are some rumors appearing in the newspapers and as well as in the TV that the vaccine is coming, but it is not that easy to come up with a vaccine which is a proper vaccine to vaccinate everybody and to prevent the disease. So we have to prevent as a sort of a primary prevention. How to prevent this? As you know, already you know it better than me, that this is a viral disease and it's spread through aerosols as well as droplets. So what is the organ is producing aerosols? Our mouth and nose. So if we can protect ourselves as well as others from the aerosol generation, that means by putting a mask, so we can keep ourselves safe from others as well as myself too. So I always recommend using a mask for everybody. But unfortunately, we are not using it properly till date. And you will be amused to know in UK, only from today, they are legislating the use of mask for everybody. They have so many casualties, more than 27,000 deaths and thousands of illness. Now they are coming up with the legislation that we have to use the mask. And probably you may not know that few countries in the world, they are using the mask and they are using it as a mandatory method. In Czechoslovakia, there is Czech Republic, in Vietnam, in Japan, and several other smaller countries. But we are living in India and Bangladesh also. So our countries are very populous, thickly populated. So it is very difficult for us to protect ourselves. There are several measures, only few measures by which we can protect ourselves. One is the hand washing, frequent hand washing, and using mask and social distancing, and avoid gatherings. Avoid using malls and other cinema halls, theaters, etc., unless it is very necessary. So you have to use with these types of nitty-gritties. Okay. Now the next point is, it is a highly infectious disease. How come we know that is highly infectious? Because disease has started its base from China and traveled across the globe, even to Peru. It is Brazil, Argentina, and everywhere. So the spreading capability is very high. But we have seen those diseases which are very infectious. In those cases, the mortality rate is generally low. It is true for this COVID also. But why you are scared? Because we are 130 crore. So 5% means a lot to us. You will be amused at how many ICU beds we have in whole India, only 75,000. And healthcare system, healthcare workers are not that much. So if we spread the infection very rapidly, most of us will not get any oxygen or any minimum support. That's why our government is so much scared, and we too. So we have to space or spacing the whole procedure. This COVID will be with us for long time, maybe for 2 years. It may so happen that as in other viral diseases, the infectivity and the morbidity and mortality will going down gradually, because this is an RNA virus which goes inside the human body and get mutated. The mutation may be very bad or maybe very good, or it may get weak himself, that the virus gets weaker and weaker and weaker. So once it is traveling or spread through the human body to human body, the virus will get weaker and weaker. So that is the whole scenario. But right now, as we notice that in India, there is only around 6,000 deaths and approximately 1 lakh people got infected. And it could happen that maybe due to the lockdown effect. That's why the virus spreads get slow. But now, right now, the lockdown is getting easier. People are roaming in the streets, doing their jobs, and you are also scared because you are working in a college. You have to do the give the lectures, and you have to mix up with your younger generations. So it is very difficult for yourself also to protect the people as well as you. Now the question is how to protect yourself. There are several methods. You must plan one protocol, and that should be propagated among all the staffs as well as among the students. I didn't have any idea about your structures of the building, but I can propose one thing. You must restrict one gate for entry and one gate for exit. In the entry gate, if it is possible for you, put up a washing machine or one disinfectant area. You can use foot pump, and you can use one dispenser for sanitizer. So each and everybody who are entering your college either have to wash their hand or sanitize their hands with the sanitizer. Then another person has to be there to record their temperature by a thermal gun. If they notice that there is somebody is having a little bit of high fever, or then they will take the history of fever, cough, sneezing, etc. They should not be allowed to enter the college. There should be a regulatory body should be take those actions. Then once inside the room, there should be a spacing, at least 3 feet spacing in between each student, and as well as in your professor's room should not gather 20-30 people in a small room. So there should be a spacing protocol. Or you can do one thing, you can space your teaching protocol so that there should be always some sort of less number of professors in the college, and the rest of the professors will come in the later half. That should be regularized. And next thing is that at the entrance of each room there should be a sanitizer bottle, so that once again students has got the facility to sanitize their hands, then they can enter. And next most important issue is each and every student should use mask. No mask, no entry to the college. Otherwise you cannot protect yourself, because you don't know who is carrying the virus, because there are asymptomatic viruses, asymptomatic carrier is present. Who is WHO, that is the World Health Organization, the organization which is important for, or rather to help us, they are not helping us properly. They are spreading various kinds of regulatory advices, and they once again changing the advices after 7 days. So better to protect yourself and protect your students and protect everybody. If you use the mask, if each and everybody use the mask, then there is a 30% to 40% chance of reduction in infectivity or spreading of the viruses. This is the most important issue. Czech Republic had issued the regulatory things in the month of February, and they use the protocol of using the mask once you are outside your building. If you don't have any mask, they used to charge hefty fine. Now they are almost free of the disease. In New Zealand also, there is no disease. They are utilizing strict protocol and heavy fines. In Vietnam, they are also doing this thing, but in India, our government is coming up with these things slowly, but definitely it will take some time because we are 130 crore and we are not rich. Next thing is that avoid spitting anywhere. This is important, and this is in place. This regulation is in place in Singapore. They used to charge $100 if you spit anywhere. If you caught red-handed, they will charge on the spot 100 rupees fine, $100 fine. That regulation should be here in India also. At least 1,000 rupees fine for those who are spitting anywhere. Because only this way we can prevent the disease. Next thing is there are several words like quarantine, isolations, and what is quarantine? Quarantine means you are suspecting someone that he may be a carrier or he may have come up in contact with one positive case. You are keeping that person in a isolated place or watching him regularly for 14 days. Generally, the disease appears from the start of day of infection, second day to 14 days. If somebody didn't have any symptoms after 14 days, and if you do a COVID test, if that COVID comes negative, then you can declare him that he is safe for the society also. And what is isolation? One person is positive and he is maybe asymptomatic, maybe symptomatic, but there is no other problems with him, only fever and cough. We are isolating that person to a separate room and doing the test regularly and keeping an observation whether he is deteriorating or not for at least 14 days. And after 14 days, we are doing the test. And once it comes negative, then we are allowing him to join the normal public or normal life. Now, we'll discuss about personal hygiene precautions. I've already told you during the lockdown, we are locked inside in the body, inside the house. There is inside the house. Now the lockdown is easing up. We have to move around. We have to do our job. We have to go to the market. But my advice is, don't go outside. Unless otherwise there is any emergency, or do you have any job to play with outside your house. If you don't have to do anything, stay in your room. That will save you. Don't move outside. Number 2, the hand washing. Because the hand washing, and number 2, without hand washing, don't touch your face and nose and mouth. Because disease used to enter through our nose and mouth. If we touch our mouth or nose without washing our hands, and you don't know that place is safe for or disinfected for us or not, there is every possibility that we may get infected. So, human being has got a tendency to touch their nose and mouth at least 80 to 100 times a day. This used to happen unknowingly. This is our habit. So, we have to create our new habit of hand washing before touching our nose and oral mouth. This should be our new life. How to wash your hand? You have to take any sort of soap. There is no special soap is required. Any general soap is required. Wash your hand properly for at least 20 seconds. At least 20 seconds. Initially, you can count 1 to 20 slowly, or you can keep a stopwatch, and you can notice how much time it is needed to wash your hand for 20 seconds. This is not a bacteria. This is a virus. So 20 seconds is enough for make the virus dead. Okay, because that alkaline medium will create a hole in the protein layer of the virus, and it will make him dead. Then use a face mask. There are various types of masks available in the market. I recommend always use three-layer mask, and do not use that single layer or 2-layer cotton mask. These are basically of no use because these are oven material that cannot prevent virus from going in and going out, and it will become wet very easily. So there should be a 1-layer non-oven fabric inside the oven fabric. I can show you different types of masks. This is a surgical mask. This is a 3-layer mask available in the market. You can use that, and this is good for general public and as well as in a college. Nothing more is required. This is another mask. This is a 6-7-layer mask. This is a washable mask. That is the cheaper variety. It's a good one. This cost around 200 rupees maximum, and you can use it for a few days. Okay, and you can wash it properly. This is the outside wall. This is the inside wall. This mask is produced by some IIT graduates. This one. This you can wear it like this. It snugly fit your mouth and it cover your nose and oral cavity and as well as chin. You have to use it like this. I have seen people using it like this. This is not the way of using a mask. Either use it properly or don't use it. So you have to cover your nose and oral cavity properly. Right? Now this mask, this kavach mask is made in India, and you can use it for 80 hours. You can wash it for 5 times. So this is rather cost effective. This costs only 45 rupees. This is available in Amazon and several others and others e-commerce market. In general people other than doctors and healthcare workers need not use N95 mask. So don't get scared of, oh, N95 is not available and it is not, I'm scared. It's not like that. N95 is only good for doctors and healthcare workers, those who are dealing with patients and active or inactive cases. N95 means there is a 95% chance of that virus will not enter. There is 5% chance still there. So nothing is 100%. So the only way to prevent it, all those things, by washing your hand and not touching your nose and mouth without washing your hands. Okay. So next thing, social distancing. This is very difficult in India because we are so populous. Lot many people are staying in slums. There is no room for spacing. What they will do? Only thing, they should use the mask. Suppose you are infected, you are using mask. So by spitting or by coughing or by sneezing, the chances of infection will be reduced by more than 60%. So in a room, if one person is infected and another person is not infected, if both of them are utilizing their mask, the chance of infection will be less than 40%. So don't get scared. And another issue is that if you are infected also, suppose 1% spread the infection to 100 people. Out of 100, 80 people will have no symptoms at all, and they will behave like a normal person. Then out of rest 20, only 5 people will develop the serious disease. They will need hospital admission, and out of them, 1 or 2 will die. And the rest 15 will be will have respiratory distress, high fever, cough, and other problems. So, out of 100, 1 or 2% will die. But why we are scared? Because we are 130 crore. So if you if 1% to 2% will die, out of 130 crore, it will be 1 crore to 2 crore. There is a huge number. That's why our government imposed the lockdown so strictly. That is the only issue. That's why you are scared. That's why we are talking so much, and the media is speaking about all those things. But if you, for the other countries like UK and other European countries, the people are dying mostly because of their age. They are having a lot of aged population. If you go to UK or Italy or other European countries, aged population is much more than us. India is fortunate because around 50 or less than 50 population is very, very high. Above 70 is very less. But in European countries above 70 is much more higher than us. That's why their picture is so dissimilar than us. That's why they are having more than 27,000 deaths. They're experiencing 27,000 deaths in UK, and Italy 28,000 deaths out of only a few crore because of old elderly population. So don't get scared, but it's a very unpredictable disease. That's why we are being scared. Then next important issue is avoid using air conditioned, because in a college you are in a teacher's room. Try to avoid using air conditioners, because suppose you are 20-30 people are inside the room and one person is infected. If you use the air condition, whole air gets contaminated, because our ACs are not having like nano filters or like this. So they utilizing recirculation of air. So that infected air will get recirculated throughout the room, and out of 29 others, most of them will develop the disease. The chance of development will be much more. So avoid using air conditioning in spite of warmth, in spite of hot air, in spite of whatever may be. Do not use ACs in the room. Now, for at least for a few months, because this disease will remain with us for at least for 6 to 7 months. It may go down. The incidence rate will go down, but it will be with us. And there will be another second outbreak after a few months, because this is a viral disease. If you remember the Spanish flu years back in 1900, there are 2 outbreaks, and the second outbreak is much deadlier than the first one. So we are experiencing right now the first outbreak. So we have to be very careful about the second outbreak. So we have to use mask, hand washing, social distancing without using ACs for at least 6 months to 1 year. So be very careful. So make using habits of those things, of this new culture. That's why I told you, welcome to the new world, because our world is not used with all those things. These are really pathetic. They're really pathetic to us, but we have to use this because we love ourselves. We love to live. That's why. Then once you are in home, once going back to your home, try to wash your clothes in warm water with soap and take a good bath. Now the next point, if you use this type of mask, just throw it out and dispose in a strictly aseptic measures, without avoid infecting yourselves, because this mask has a 2 surface. One is outer surface and this is inner surface. Once we are utilizing this mask, this virus gets stuck in the outer surface. So avoid touching the outer surface. Do not touch the outer surface. Once you touch the outer surface with your hand, wash your hand. This is another trick. Suppose I'm using this mask like this. That's like this, closing my nose and mouth. I'm using it. I'm taking my lecture. I'm doing my job. Once I am home, I have to dispose it like this way. This way. Not this way. Okay? Because this is infected. We are taking it in such a manner, and we are feeling in such a manner that most of us are infected because we don't know. Today I go to my hospital and did one surgery and came back home. I throw it out in a dustbin using this proper manner, because I don't know whom I operated, and those who are present in the OT theater and those who are present in the our outpatient department, who are non-infected and who are infected, because it is not possible to test everybody, because we are 130 crore. It's not possible. So unless until we are getting to know that who is infected, non-infected, we have to take that everybody is infected, and you have to take this thing into your life, that dispose these things in such manner that the outside may be infected, and you are disposing this thing, or you are washing this thing in a safe manner. If you use this type of mask, inner side is white, outer side is black, so it is very easy to identify which side is outside, which side is inside. So I would rather suggest you to utilize this type of mask, so that it will be easy for you to remember which side is safer side, which side is unsafe side. So once you are in your home, wash it properly with soap and water every day. Then hang it and reutilize once it is dry. So it may so happen that you may have to buy 2 or 3 or 4 masks for your daily life, because it is not possible to lock down for an indefinite period. Otherwise, our economy will go down. So we have to work, or start working, start utilizing our college, our students and everything from near future. So we have to get prepared with all these things. Make it a practice, or make it a habit of using your mask, using your washing hands, and making the safe distancing with each other. So this is very difficult to create all those habits, but my request is, please make it a point that every day we try with those things, and so that it will be just like a reflex action. I know it is not possible for you, because we are utilizing this thing for a long time, so it is very easy for us to make it a habit. But for a general population, for a general public, it is a really difficult time. It's really difficult to use all those things, but try to utilize these things. Otherwise, it is very difficult to prevent infection. The next is some of you have asked me that what should be the students, teachers, hygiene in the institute. As I told you, in the entry point, put one man with a thermometer, then hand sanitization, then you are inside the college, in front of each room, keep one sanitizer, and inside and just in front of the toilets, try to put one wash basin with soap, so that everybody can wash their hands properly, and so that they can, once they are enter your classroom, they should be sanitized. And next thing, people's perception and stigma. Really, it is happening over the last few days or few months rather. People have stigmatized this problem just like AIDS. There are several points. One thing is that there is no proper treatment, or no proper medicine, or no vaccine for the disease. And this is highly infective. That's why people are always scared. Scared for death, scared for the disease, scared for the treatment. Because right now, we have several hundred COVID beds. But if lot many people are getting the infection, it will be very difficult for each and everybody to get the treatment, at least the oxygen. It may so happen. So that's why we are scared. That's why people are scared. But it is the disease itself is not that scary, because most of the people, those who are getting the infection, 90% of them are, the infection is very mild, only fever and cough. But this is a statistics. We are talking about real statistics at 90%. Out of 100, rest 10% will get the infection, which is very hard. And for them, who will be the 10%, you'll never know. So that's why you're scared. Because for one death, for that person, it is 100%. For 1 mild infection, for him, it is 100%. There is nothing as that. That's because statistics is for politicians and for policymakers, not for the human beings. This is really scary situation for us. We are also scared too. So we have to cope with all those things. So maintain social distancing, universal use of mask, and hand washing. These are the 3 things which we must be. We must follow these 3 rules: hand washing, use mask, distancing. Okay, these are the 3 ways to prevent this infection. Okay, now may I ask you, please, you can ask any questions so that we can answer, and we can do, if you have anything in your mind.
So there are lots of questions.
Yes.
Yeah, please
Lots of
go ahead.
questions. Thank you very much, sir.
Krishnendu আছে একটু, please unmute.
We have with us many more students. They are watching on YouTube also.
Okay.
They have I have taken 1 or 2 questions from them.
Okay, please.
Sir, please, you can answer in Bengali also, because they are
Okay.
comfortable in Bengali. So
Okay.
Krishnendu,
তুমি আছো? একটু কোয়েশ্চেন করো স্যারকে।
হ্যাঁ, নমস্কার স্যার।
নমস্কার।
কৃষ্ণেন্দু।
স্যার কৃষ্ণেন্দু আমাদের ছাত্র, আপনাকে একটু আপনার লেকচার শুনেছে।
হ্যাঁ,
আমি বলতে চাইছি স্যার, এই মুহূর্তে যেভাবে করোনা ভাইরাস সংক্রমিত হচ্ছে চারিদিকে, তো এক্ষেত্রে ক্যান্সার পেশেন্টস যারা রয়েছে তারা কিভাবে সার্ভাইভ করতে পারবে ব্যাপারটা?
ক্যান্সার পেশেন্ট কি করে সার্ভাইভ করবে ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে কি, ক্যান্সার পেশেন্টদের ইমিউনিটি অনেক ক্ষেত্রে যাদের ট্রিটমেন্ট শুরু হয়েছে তাদের ইমিউনিটি কম থাকে। যেমন ধরুন কোনো ক্যান্সার পেশেন্ট কেমোথেরাপি পাচ্ছে, কেমোথেরাপি কি করে আমাদের ইমিউনিটিটাকে একটু উইক করে দেয়। তাদের কিন্তু মুশকিল, তাদেরকে সাবধানে রাখতেই হবে, কারণ এই কম ইমিউনিটি পেশেন্টের যদি আবার করোনা ভাইরাস আক্রান্ত হয়, তার ভাইরাস আক্রান্ত হওয়ার চান্সটা অনেক বেশি এবং তার অসুখটা খারাপ দিকে যাওয়ার সম্ভাবনাটাও অনেক বেশি। বুঝতে পেরেছেন?
আচ্ছা স্যার, এক্ষেত্রে একটা কথা বলছি, আমার বাবার 14টা কেমো হয়ে গেছে, লাং ক্যান্সার। তো রিসেন্টলি মেদিনীপুর মেডিকেল কলেজ অ্যান্ড হসপিটালে ভর্তি করা হয়েছিল। সেইখানে একজন কোভিড-19 পজিটিভ থেকে, শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ বলুন, শুনতে পাচ্ছি,
বলো।
একটু জোরে, একটু জোরে, একটু।
হ্যালো,
হ্যাঁ শোনা যাচ্ছে, কৃষ্ণেন্দু বলো।
বল আস্তে আস্তে।
আমার বাবার এই মুহূর্তে 14টা কেমো হয়ে গেছে।
হ্যাঁ,
মেদিনীপুরে হসপিটালে একজন কোভিড-19 পজিটিভের থেকে জাস্ট 6-7 ফুট ডিস্টেন্সে ছিলাম আমি, আমার বাবা।
একটু আগে যেটা কথাটা বললাম, কোভিড-19 পেশেন্ট থাকতেই পারে, সেই পেশেন্টের মুখে যদি মাস্ক থাকে তার থেকে অসুখ ছড়ানোর সম্ভাবনা অনেক কম। আমি এই জন্যই বারবার বলছি, মাস্ক ফর এভরিবডি, ইউজ মাস্ক, এভরিবডি শুড ইউজ মাস্ক, মানে প্রত্যেককে মাস্ক পরতেই হবে। মাস্ক না পরে রাস্তায় বেরোবেন না, মাস্ক না পরে কলেজে যাবেন না, মাস্ক না পরে কোনো হসপিটালে ঢুকবেন না। তার কারণ ওই যে কোভিড-19 পেশেন্টের যদি মাস্ক পরা থাকে তার থেকে অসুখ ছড়িয়ে পড়ার সম্ভাবনা অনেক অংশে কম, এবং আপনার বাবাও যদি মাস্ক পরে থাকেন তাহলে অসুখটা ছড়িয়ে পড়ার সম্ভাবনা আরো কমে যাচ্ছে। দুজনে যদি মাস্ক পরেন,
ওই পেশেন্ট মাস্ক পরেছিল প্লাস আমরাও মাস্ক পরেছিলাম,
ব্যাস, তাহলে সেক্ষেত্রে সম্ভাবনা খুবই কম।
এই মুহূর্তে আমরা কোয়ারেন্টাইন আছি, 10 দিন হয়ে গেল, কোনো সিম্পটম নেই কিন্তু।
ঠিক আছে, আরো 4 দিন কেটে গেলে আপনারা বুঝলেন এই যাত্রা বেঁচে গেলাম। তো 10 দিন 14 দিন ম্যাক্সিমাম, কারণ প্রথম ইনফেকশনটা যদি কারোর যদি ইনফেক্টেড হয়, ইনফেক্টেড হওয়ার থেকে 2 দিনের মাথা থেকে 14 দিন পর্যন্ত তার অসুখের সম্ভাবনা থাকে। সুতরাং 2 দিন কেটে গেছে, 10 দিন কেটে গেছে, সম্ভাবনাটা অনেকটাই কমে গেছে। 14 দিন যদি কেটে যায় আপনারা সকলেই নিশ্চিন্ত হয়ে গেলেন। বুঝতে পেরেছেন? এই জন্যই বলা হচ্ছে প্রত্যেকে মাস্ক ব্যবহার করুন এবং নাকে মুখে হাত দেবেন না। মাস্ক পরার একটা ভালো জিনিস কি হচ্ছে বলুন তো, আপনি চট করে নাকে মুখে হাত দিতে পারছেন না। কেমন? আমি যে একটু আগে দেখালাম যে মাস্কটা পরার পর বাইরের দিকে টাচ করবেন না, কারণ বাইরের দিকে ভাইরাস লেগে থাকতে পারে। কারণ ভাইরাস পার্টিকেল বাতাসে উঠছে, বাতাসে ধরুন কেউ কথা বললো আপনার থেকে 3 ফিটের ডিস্টেন্সের মধ্যে, ভাইরাস পার্টিকেল এইখানে এসে লাগবে। এই মাস্ক পরার উদ্দেশ্য তাই। আর এই ট্রিপল লেয়ার গুড কোয়ালিটি মাস্ক পরার উদ্দেশ্য তাই যে আপনি ভাইরাসের হাত থেকে বাঁচবেন। ভাইরাসটা এসে স্টিক টু দিস সারফেস, সুতরাং এই সারফেসে আমি হাত দেবো না। আমি মাস্কটা কিভাবে খুলবো, আমি এই দুটো কান ধরে খুলবো, ঠিক এইভাবে খুলবো আস্তে করে, আমি সামনে হাত দিচ্ছি না। এবার আমি এটাকে সাবান জলে চুবিয়ে দিয়ে ধোবো। সাবান জলে চুবিয়ে অন্তত 20 মিনিট রাখবেন, তাতে সমস্ত ভাইরাস মরে যায়। 10 থেকে 20 মিনিট ইজ এনাফ টু কিল এ ভাইরাস ইন এ সোপ সলিউশন। ঠিক আছে, মনে থাকবে? হ্যাঁ।
আচ্ছা, আরেকজন আছেন শঙ্কর্ষণ চক্রবর্তী। শঙ্কর্ষণ চক্রবর্তী, আপনি কি আছেন? আপনি একটু আনমিউট করতে পারেন, আপনার একটা কোয়েশ্চেন আছে।
শ্রীতমা,
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ,
আমরা শ্রেয়াদির পারমিশন নিয়ে কথা বলি।
হ্যাঁ, জুম আর ইউটিউবেও কিন্তু অনেক কোশ্চেন আছে।
শ্রেয়াদি, ডক্টর শ্রেয়া ভট্টাচার্য, শ্রেয়াদি আছেন?
শ্রেয়াদি একটু আনমিউট করুন, কাইন্ডলি আনমিউট ইয়োরসেলফ।
হ্যালো
হ্যালো।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, আচ্ছা
শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ, নমস্কার, বলুন।
স্যার, আপনাকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। এই একটা অসাধারণ ভ্যালুয়েবল।
পরিচয়টা দেবেন একটু?
আমি শঙ্কর্ষণ চক্রবর্তী, রিসার্চ স্কলার, যাদবপুর ইউনিভার্সিটি।
আচ্ছা,
স্যার,
নমস্কার।
আমার দুটো প্রশ্ন ছিল আপনার কাছে।
হ্যাঁ, বলুন।
প্রথম, মানে আমরা এই যে ধরুন যে মাস্কগুলো, 3 লেয়ার মাস্ক, এগুলো কি আমরা বাড়িতে যে কটন যে কাপড়গুলো হয় সেগুলোকে দিয়ে ব্যবহার করে কি বানিয়ে ব্যবহার করতে পারি আমরা?
না, 3 লেয়ার কটনের মধ্যে আপনার 2 লেয়ার কটন থাকতে পারে, কিন্তু একটা লেয়ার নন ওভেন। নন ওভেন মানে পলিয়েস্টার বা এই ধরনের মেটেরিয়াল হতে হবে, বুঝতে পেরেছেন? এই ধরুন এই মাস্কটা, এটা কিন্তু কাপড়ের মাস্ক নয়, এগুলো একটা পলিয়েস্টার মেটেরিয়াল আছে, বুঝতে পেরেছেন? সুতরাং এই অন্তত একটা লেয়ারে নন ওভেন হতে হবে। আমাদের যে কটন মাস্কগুলো উইভ করে তৈরি হয়, কিন্তু এইগুলো উইভ নয়, এগুলো প্লাস্টার্ড, তার মধ্যে ফাঁক কম থাকে, সুতরাং ভাইরাস পার্টিকেলের প্রবেশ করার সম্ভাবনা অনেক কমে যায়। আমাদের যে তন্তু যে চারদিকে প্রচার করে দিল এই সবুজ মাস্কগুলো অত্যন্ত খারাপ, ওগুলো দয়া করে ইউজ করবেন না, ওগুলো কিন্তু ভাইরাসের হাত থেকে আপনাকে বাঁচাতে পারবে না।
আচ্ছা, থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার। আর আমার মানে সেকেন্ড প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে স্যার, এই যে ধরুন ডেটল লিকুইড আমাদের মানে অ্যান্টিসেপ্টিক যেটা আমরা ব্যবহার করি, ওটা কি স্যার আমরা মানে অ্যাজ এ স্যানিটাইজেশনের
না না, 70% অ্যালকোহল থাকতেই হবে। 70% অ্যালকোহলের সঙ্গে আপনি যদি আর কিছু মেলান সেটা হবে। ডেটলের 70% অ্যালকোহল থাকে না, ওটা বেকার।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
ওখানে পয়সা নষ্ট করবেন না।
শ্রেয়াদি,
হ্যাঁ বলুন।
ম্যাডাম, বলছি যে আমাদের অনেক কোশ্চেন আছে চ্যাট বক্সে এবং ইউটিউবে, তো আমরা কি কিছু কোশ্চেন নেব?
হ্যাঁ আপনারা, হ্যাঁ স্যার, হ্যাঁ আপনি ওর মধ্যে থেকে কয়েকটা বেস্ট যে কোয়েশ্চেন সেটা আপনি সিলেক্ট করুন। ততক্ষণ আই উইল রিকোয়েস্ট ডক্টর সেন, আপনি যদি এই প্রিকশন গুলো একবার বাংলাতে ইন আ নাটশেল যদি বলে দেন, দ্যাট ইজ ওয়ান থিং। And the second thing, Dr. Shen, আপনি যদি এটাও বলেন যে এই সময় ওয়েলবিং এর কথা, মেন্টাল ওয়েলবিং এর কথা, how to stay, you know, what should I say, happy and positive in this.
হ্যাঁ,
এটা আপনি যদি বলেন।
যেটা বলছিলাম যে 100 জনের যদি ইনফেকশন হয় তার মধ্যে 80 জনের কিছুই হবে না। 20 জনের বাকি যে 20 জন রইলো তার মধ্যে 5 জনের খুব সাংঘাতিক ইনফেকশন হবে, বাকি 15 জনের সাধারণ ইনফেকশন, অর্থাৎ জ্বর, কাশি এসবগুলো হবে। সুতরাং ভয় পাওয়ার অত কিছু কারণ নেই। সেই যে বাকি 5 জনের সাংঘাতিক ইনফেকশন হলো তার মধ্যে 1 থেকে 2 জন মারা যাবেন। সুতরাং 100 জনের মধ্যে 1 থেকে 2% লোক মারা যাচ্ছেন, সুতরাং অত খারাপ অসুখ নয় এটা। কিন্তু ভয়ের একটাই কারণ হচ্ছে যে আমাদের দেশে 130 কোটি লোক বাস করে, তার মধ্যে 1 থেকে 2%টাও অনেক বেশি, সেজন্য আমরা ভয় পাচ্ছি। এই মানুষরা যদি একসঙ্গে ইনফেক্টেড হয়ে যান তাহলে কি হবে? তাদেরকে স্বাস্থ্য পরিষেবা দেওয়ার মতো ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার ভারতবর্ষে নেই। ভারতবর্ষে টোটাল আইসিইউ বেড স্ট্রেংথ হলো 75,000টা, 75,000 মানুষের আইসিইউ, ইনক্লুডিং বেসরকারি এবং সরকারি সব মিলিয়ে বলছি। অর্থাৎ এই 1.5 কোটি লোক বা 2 কোটি লোক যদি সাংঘাতিকভাবে অসুস্থ হয়ে পড়েন তার মধ্যে 75,000 আপনি কিছু বেনিফিট পাচ্ছেন, বাকিরা কোনো বিনা চিকিৎসায় মারা যাবে। আমরা ভয় পাচ্ছি একটাই কারণে, সেই জন্যই বারবার বলছি যে অকারণে বাড়ির বাইরে বেরোবেন না। ওই বন্ধুর সঙ্গে দেখা করতে গেলাম, একটু গল্প করছি, গল্প করতে হবে, মনটা ভালো লাগছে না, ওসব করা চলবে না। যদি আপনি আপনার ফ্যামিলিকে ভালোবাসেন, দয়া করে বাড়িতে থাকুন, পরিষ্কার কথা। কোনো দরকার ছাড়া, কোনো এমার্জেন্সি ছাড়া দয়া করে বাড়ির বাইরে বেরোবেন না। যদি সরকারি অফিস যেতে হয় সাবধানে যাবেন, কলেজ যেতে হয় সাবধানে যাবেন, ডাক্তারি করতে হয় সাবধানে করবেন। তার কারণ কে ইনফেক্টেড নয় বোঝা খুব মুশকিল। তার কারণ অ্যাসিমপ্টোমেটিক ক্যারিয়ারও ভর্তি, আমি নিজেই জানি না আমার স্ট্যাটাস, সুতরাং আমি কাকে কি করে বলবো। এই অবস্থায় চলছে। তার কারণটা কি হলো, আমাদের সবচেয়ে বেশি ব্যাপারটা ঘোলাটে করে দিয়েছে ডাব্লিউএইচও প্রথম দিন থেকে বলছে কিছু না কিছু না কিছু না। তারপরে যখন আমেরিকা চেঁচামেচি শুরু করলো, তখন হঠাৎ করে বললো দিস ইজ প্যান্ডেমিক, দিস ইজ এপিডেমিক, লাফিয়ে লাফিয়ে বলছে। কদিন আগে বলছিল অ্যাসিমপ্টোমেটিক ক্যারিয়ার থেকে কিছু হয় না, এখন আবার হঠাৎ করে বলছে না, অ্যাসিমপ্টোমেটিক ক্যারিয়ার থেকেও অসুখ ছড়াতে পারে। তার মানে ইট ইজ বেটার টু কাম সেফ, ইউজ মাস্ক, ইউজ হ্যান্ড ওয়াশিং, মাস্ক ব্যবহার করুন ঠিক মতো, হাত না ধুয়ে নাকে মুখে হাত দেবেন না। একটু আগে বললাম মানুষের স্বাভাবিক প্রবণতা হলো দিনে 100 বার অন্তত নাকে মুখে হাত দেয়া, সে কান খোটা থেকে শুরু করে নাকের মধ্যে হাত ঢোকানো, গোপ চুলকোনো, গালে একটু নিয়ে করা, এ মানুষের স্বাভাবিক, এটা অভ্যেস রিফ্লেক্সলি করি আমরা। এইগুলো করা থেকে আমাদেরকে বিরত থাকতে হবে। এবং যদি আমরা মাস্ক পরি তাহলে কিছুটা আমার প্রোটেকশন রয়ে গেল। এবার কি করবেন, মাস্কের যে আউটার লেয়ারটাতে আপনি হাত দেবেন না, যদি হাত দিয়ে ফেলেন হাতটা সঙ্গে সঙ্গে ধুয়ে নিন। মাস্ক খুলবেন দুপাশ থেকে আস্তে করে ধরে, যাতে করে মাস্কের সামনেটা ধরে আপনি মাস্ক খুলছেন না। এই কটা জিনিস আপনাকে মেনে চলতে হবে। নাকে মুখে হাত দেওয়ার আগে 20 সেকেন্ড যে কোনো সাবান দিয়ে হাত ধোবেন। যদি বাড়ির বাইরে কাজে বেরোন, সারাদিন কাজ করলেন, কোনো আপত্তি নেই, কাজকর্ম করে বাড়ি ফিরে গরম জলে বা যে কোনো জলেই সাবান দিয়ে ভালো করে স্নান করবেন, জামা কাপড় সাবান দিয়ে কাচবেন। যদি ভাইরাসগুলো লেগে থাকে আমাদের শরীরের বাইরে, ঢোকে মুখ নাক দিয়ে, সুতরাং মুখ নাকে যদি হাত না দিই, বাইরের জামা কাপড় এগুলো যদি আমি কেচে ফেলি, তাহলে ভাইরাস ঢুকবে কি করে? ঢুকতে পারবে না। আর যদি ঢোকেও তার মধ্যে 80 জনে কিছু হবে না, বাকি 20 জন অসুস্থ হবেন। সুতরাং অত ভয় পাওয়ার কিছু নেই। আর দ্বিতীয় কথা হচ্ছে, দয়া করে টিভি আর এই সমস্ত খবরগুলো দেখবেন না। এগুলো দেখলে মন খারাপ হবে, মনের উপর চাপ বাড়বে। অন্তত রাতে মোটেই দেখবেন না। টিভি দেখলেই মন খারাপ হবে। যে টিভির নিউজগুলো, এরা এই খবর বিক্রি করার জন্য এরা আরো কিছুটা এই সমস্ত জিনিসগুলোকে খুব ভীষণভাবে মাত্রা দিচ্ছে। স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্স গুলো দেখে যাচ্ছে, এত লোক মারা গেল, এত লোক হয়ে গেল, এত কিছু হয়ে গেল। আরে বাবা, আসল কথা দেখো যে 130 কোটির দেশে মাত্র 6000 লোক মারা গেছেন। এটা কিছুই নয়, কিন্তু ভয় পাওয়ার কি আছে? কিন্তু আমাদের নিজেদের রক্ষা করার জন্য আমাদেরকে সাবধানতা অবলম্বন করতে হবে, কিন্তু ভয় পেলে চলবে না। সুতরাং ওই টিভির নিউজ দয়া করে দেখবেন না। টিভির নিউজ অন্তত বলতে রাত্রে, সকালে দেখতে পারেন, কিন্তু রাতে ঘুমানোর আগে মধ্যে দেখবে ঘুম পাবে না। আর ঘুম না হলে শরীর খারাপ হবে, শরীর খারাপ হলেই ঝামেলা হবে। ব্লাড সুগারের পেশেন্ট যারা, তাদের ব্লাড সুগার কন্ট্রোল রাখতে হবে। প্রেশারের যাদের অসুখ, প্রেশারটা ঠিক রাখতে হবে। তার কারণ এই অসুখটা ব্লাড সুগার এবং ব্লাড প্রেশার যাদের থাকছে তাদের গন্ডগোল বেশি মাত্রায় হচ্ছে। তো এই জিনিসগুলোকে যদি মেনে চলেন তাহলে আপনারা সবাই ভালো থাকবেন, কোনো অসুবিধা হবে না। ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
ডক্টর লিপিকা, if you have taken the questions, তাহলে আপনি এখন কোয়েশ্চেন্স গুলো একটা একটা করে দিতে পারেন।
হ্যাঁ, লিপিকা দি আমি বলবো, একটা খুব ভালো কোশ্চেন আছে। ওকে স্যার, হ্যাঁ বলছি। স্যার, কোশ্চেন হচ্ছে, the process of child immunization get affected during the period of lockdown. How dangerous is this for our society? কোশ্চেনটা করেছেন ডক্টর মৌসুমী মিত্রা। I think it's
yes, definitely it is dangerous because we are scared, but they can be immunized properly, taking good care. They should be immunized. There is no point that they should not get the immunization. They should be immunized according to their schedule, but they should be properly taken care of, because they must use their mask and they must sanitize baby's hand, their own hands, mother's hands, and mother must use the mask, proper mask, and they must go to the proper place safely so that they can get immunization safely. So immunization schedules should be continued. There should be no stoppage of immunization.
Okay, we have one more question.
Hello?
We have one more question from Digangana Bose, I think.
Yes. Sritama?
Can I
Yes,
say?
yes,
Digangana Bose.
Yeah, I just wanted that Digangana should come and
Yes,
speak.
yes.
Subir,
Can you please come up? Digangana, তুমি কি আছো? দিগঙ্গনা আপনি
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ আমি
হ্যাঁ,
আছি
হ্যাঁ,
বলো, বলো।
আমি
একটু
আছি
আপনাকে ইন্ট্রোডিউস করি, একটু বলবেন আপনার কোয়েশ্চেন?
হ্যাঁ আমি ইস্ট ক্যালকাটা গার্লস কলেজ মানে কলকাতা ইস্ট ক্যালকাটা গার্লস কলেজের লেকচারার।
লেকটাউন।
নমস্কার।
হ্যাঁ লেকটাউন। নমস্কার। আমি কয়েকটা কোয়েশ্চেন করেছি, সেটা হচ্ছে যে আমরা এই যে হ্যান্ড গ্লাভস অনেক সময় ইউজ করছি, তো সেই হ্যান্ড গ্লাভস গুলো ইউজ কি সবসময় করা কি দরকার? এটা একটা
You should avoid using those gloves. This is my first point. Don't use gloves because you can disinfect your hands properly and very easily. So if you touch somewhere, just wash your hand. If you use your gloves, there will be a tendency, or you feel in the back of the mind, my hands are safe. So you may touch your infected hand gloves in your nose or anywhere. So don't use your gloves. There's no point using your gloves unless you touch some rotten object or something bad. So don't use any gloves. There's no point. I have seen people are using moving around with gloves on. So there is no point using your gloves. Just wash your hand. That is the only point. Just wash your hand with your hand sanitizer or soap and water. Nothing else is required.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. One more question. That is, can breast milk transmit the coronavirus disease?
If the lady is infected, it can. If the lady is infected and if there is viremia inside her body, it can transmit.
Okay. Sir, last question. Is COVID-19 sensitive to temperature?
Definitely sensitive to temperature, but that temperature is very high, more than 60 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Bose.
Thank you. That's all, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
There are so many questions. So, Dr. Ashit Ponda, he is asking a question, sir.
Yeah,
Dr. Ashit.
Dr. Ponda, please.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Sen for his illuminating and highly informative presentation. Dr. Sen has spent his valuable time to be with us. Thank you, sir, very much. স্যার, আমার দুটো কমন কোশ্চেন আছে। কিছু লোকের মধ্যে এই কোভিড সম্পর্কে একটা মিসকনসেপশন আছে, তো অনেকের সাথে কথা বলতে গিয়ে আমার যেগুলো মনে হয়েছে লোকের যে প্রবলেমগুলো হয় সেগুলো দু তিনটা আমি আপনার সাথে একটু শেয়ার করছি গুছিয়ে। একটা হচ্ছে যে প্রথমের দিকে যখন শোনা গেল যে হাইড্রোক্সিক্লোরোকুইনে কোভিড সেরে যাচ্ছে বলে একটা প্রচার শুরু হলো, কিছু লোকে রেগুলারলি হাইড্রোক্সিক্লোরোকুইন খাওয়া আরম্ভ করলো, মার্কেট থেকে হাইড্রোক্সিক্লোরোকুইন পাওয়া গেল না মার্কেটে। তো আমি সেটা বলছি না, এখন বোঝা গেছে যে হাইড্রোক্সিক্লোরোকুইন ওইভাবে এফেক্টিভ নয় এবং তার ব্যাড এফেক্ট, অ্যাডভার্স এফেক্ট, ইম্প্যাক্টও আছে। আমরা কি আমাদের ফুড হ্যাবিটে এমন কোনো চেঞ্জ আনতে পারি যাতে করে আমাদের ইমিউনিটি আমরা ইনক্রিজ করতে পারি? যেমন কিছু কিছু ডক্টরস বলছেন যে আমাদের যদি ভিটামিন সি, ভিটামিন ডি বা জিঙ্ক এগুলো যদি রেগুলারলি আমরা ইনটেক করি আমাদের ইমিউনিটি অনেকটা ইনক্রিজ করে। সেক্ষেত্রে কি আমরা কমন পিপল যারা তারা কি ভিটামিন সি বা ভিটামিন ডি ট্যাবলেট বা জিঙ্ক এই জাতীয় ট্যাবলেট ইউজ করতে পারি? দিস ইজ ফার্স্ট কোয়েশ্চেন। সেকেন্ড আরেকটা কোয়েশ্চেন আছে আমার, যে বলছি যে ধরুন আজকে আমাদের স্টেটের যা ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার আছে, আমরা ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলে যারা আছি, স্টেটের যা ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার আছে সেখানে যদি কোনো একজন অর্ডিনারি পিপল যদি সাসপেক্ট করে যে তার কোভিড হয়েছে, তো ফার্স্ট স্টেপ তার কি হবে? সে কি লোকাল ডক্টরের কাছে যাবে, সে কি থানায় যাবে, নাকি সে কি কোভিড হাসপাতালে ডাইরেক্ট চলে যাবে? সেই অর্ডিনারি পিপলের কিন্তু কাছে কিন্তু কোনো নলেজ নেই, এভাবে কোনো অ্যাওয়ারনেস নেই যে হোয়াট হি শুড ডু অ্যাট দ্য ফার্স্ট স্টেপ। তো সেক্ষেত্রে তারা অনেকটা কনফিউজড। যদি সাসপেক্ট করে তারা অনেক সময় লোকাল ডাক্তাররা রিফিউজ করে, দেখতে চায় না, তো সেক্ষেত্রে তারা কি করবে? এটা একটা ব্যাপার। আরেকটা শ্রেয়া ম্যাম যেটা বললেন যে মেন্টাল হেলথ, ডেফিনেটলি আমরা জানি যে গতকাল একটা ট্র্যাজিক ইনসিডেন্ট ঘটেছে, আমাদের একজন ফেমাস বলিউড অ্যাক্টর ডিপ্রেশনে ভুগে মোস্ট পসিবলি সুইসাইড করেছেন। এটা একটা বিরাট সমস্যা। লকডাউন দীর্ঘকালীন একটা লং টাইম লকডাউন, মানে সকলে একটা সাইকোলজিক্যাল স্ট্রেস, একটা ইনসিকিউরিটির মধ্যে রয়েছে, একটা আনসার্টেনটির মধ্যে রয়েছে। তার ফলে একটা বিরাট স্ট্রেস ফিল করি সবসময়। আমরা এই এতদিন কলেজ যেতে পারছি না, যারা কাজে যাই কাজ বন্ধ আছে, বাড়িতে বসে রয়েছি, একটা বিশাল ধরনের স্ট্রেস ফিল করছি। তো এখান থেকে কি করে একটা পজিটিভ লাইফ আমরা শুরু করতে পারি, যদি এ ব্যাপারে কিছু বলেন।
হ্যাঁ, খুব ভালো প্রশ্ন করেছেন। প্রথম প্রশ্নের উত্তর দিই, এখনো অবধি সেরকম কোনো প্রুভেন কিছু নেই যেটা আমাদেরকে ইমিউনিটি বাড়াবে। একমাত্র যেটা সবাইকেই বলি, ভিটামিন ডি খান। দেখা গেছে ভিটামিন ডি যদি শরীরে কম থাকে তাদের কোভিড ভাইরাসটা সংক্রমণটা বেশি মাত্রায় হতে পারে। সুতরাং ইউজ টেকিং ভিটামিন ডি 60 or 40 ইউনিট এভরি উইকলি। যেমন আপরাইজ D3 বলে একটা ক্যাপসুল পাওয়া যায়, একটা করে প্রতি সপ্তাহে খান, অ্যাটলিস্ট 6 to 8 weeks, দ্যাট উইল গেট ইউ সাম বেনিফিট। ভিটামিন সি নিয়ে যে কথাগুলো, ভিটামিন সি যে ডোজে খেলে আমাদের ইমিউনিটি বা সমস্ত বাড়ে, দ্যাট ইজ ভেরি হাই ডোজ and that is not practical. বুঝতে পেরেছেন? So this is basically impractical.
Okay.
If you have the access to the vitamin C, you can have vitamin C. There is no harm in taking vitamin C. Number 2, zinc বলছে around 50 milligram করে খেতে। Is very difficult because that may produce constipation. কেমন? তো ভিটামিন ডি টা একমাত্র একটা প্রুভেন এখনো অবধি। ইউকে তো ভিটামিন ডি রেকমেন্ড করছেন সবাই, সো ভিটামিন ডি আপনি খেতে পারেন। এই একটা গেল। দ্বিতীয় প্রশ্ন যেটা, প্রথম প্রশ্ন আরেকটা কি পার্ট ছিল? ইমিউনিটি নিয়ে।
হ্যাঁ, ইমিউনিটি নিয়ে ফুড হ্যাবিটে আমরা কোনো চেঞ্জ আনতে পারি কিনা?
ফুড হ্যাবিট নরমাল হ্যাবিট। ব্লাড সুগার বাড়তে দেবেন না, ব্লাড প্রেশার বাড়তে দেবেন না, যেটা নরমাল থাকে থাকুক, এরকম ভাবে থাকতে হবে। সাধারণ জীবনযাপন করুন। আর নেক্সট দ্বিতীয় প্রশ্ন যেটা, কারো যদি জ্বর হয় তার উচিত হচ্ছে লোকাল ডাক্তার দেখানো অথবা হসপিটালে ফিভার ক্লিনিক যাওয়া। বিভিন্ন হসপিটালে ফিভার ক্লিনিক করেছে। ফিভার ক্লিনিকে কি করা হচ্ছে? ফিভার ক্লিনিকে তার হিস্ট্রি নেওয়া হচ্ছে, তার টেম্পারেচার চার্ট দেখা হচ্ছে, এবং যদি সাসপেক্ট করে তার কোভিড টেস্ট করা হচ্ছে। বুঝতে পারা গেল? আর যদি মনে হয় তার শ্বাসকষ্ট, তখন তাকে ভর্তি করার ব্যবস্থা করা হচ্ছে। সুতরাং যদি জ্বর হয় তাহলে ফিভার ক্লিনিকে এসে যান অথবা লোকাল ডাক্তারকে দেখান। এই দুটো পয়েন্ট, থানায় গিয়ে কোনো লাভ হবে না। এবং আপনার যে 3 নম্বর প্রশ্নটা রিগার্ডিং ডিপ্রেশন, এটা একটা বিরাট প্রশ্ন। এই যেমন এই ছেলেটির কথা বলি, যে কালকে যে ছেলেটির কথা আপনি বলছেন, রাজপুত একটা ব্রিলিয়েন্ট ছেলে। রাজপুত আপনি জানেন কি জানি না, সেই ছেলেটি IIT তে র্যাঙ্ক করেছিল,
ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং অল ইন্ডিয়া
এ অল ইন্ডিয়া ভালো র্যাঙ্ক করে, ম্যাড্রাস থেকে ভালো জায়গা থেকে ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং করে, তারপরে তার সবসময় সে উচ্চাকাঙ্ক্ষা, সারাক্ষণ তার উচ্চাকাঙ্ক্ষা। সুতরাং এত উচ্চাকাঙ্ক্ষা থাকলে হবে না। এরা পরাজয় মেনে নিতে পারে না। জীবনে মাঝে মাঝে হারতেও হবে। বুঝতে পেরেছেন? জীবনে পরাজয়টাকে মেনে নিতে হবে। তখন পরাজিত ভাবলে চলবে না। সেই আমাদের পরাজয়ের মধ্যে দিয়ে কিন্তু আমাদের নতুন জীবন শুরু হয়। আপনি যদি মনে করেন প্রতিদিনই জিতবো, প্রতিদিনই প্রচুর রোজগার হবে, প্রতিদিন প্রচুর কিছু করবো, তাহলে কিন্তু এই ঘটনা ঘটতে বাধ্য। আপনাকে সাধারণ জীবনযাপন করতে হবে, স্বাভাবিক জীবনযাপন করতে হবে। বেশি উচ্চাকাঙ্ক্ষা মানুষের জীবনে ভালো না। বুঝতে পেরেছেন? একটা নর্মাল লাইফ লিড করতে হবে, আর মাঝে মাঝে পরাজয়গুলো মেনে নিতে হবে, এবং তার থেকেই ভেবে নিতে হবে আমি কি করে নতুন ভাবে জেগে উঠবো। বুঝতে পেরেছেন? তো জীবনে জয় পরাজয় আসবেই, এটাই আমাদের স্বাভাবিক জীবন। এই ছেলেটির জীবনে নিশ্চয়ই করে শুধু ও জিততে শিখেছে, হারতে শেখেনি, যার ফলে এত তাড়াতাড়ি হেরে গেল। এটা হারার বয়স নয়। এরকম আপনি অজস্র ঘটনা দেখবেন। তার জন্য তার কারণ হচ্ছে আজকালকার বাবা মাদের আপব্রিঙ্গিং। বেশিরভাগই দেখবেন 1জন কি 2জন সন্তান ম্যাক্সিমাম, এবং প্রত্যেককেই বাবা মা বেত মেরে পড়াচ্ছে যে তাকে ফার্স্ট হতে হবে। আরে ফার্স্ট তো 1জনই হবে 100 জনের মধ্যে, তাই নয় কি? তো বাকি 99 জন তো সেকেন্ড, থার্ড, ফোর্থ, ফিফথ, তার লাস্টও হবে। তো সেইগুলো তো মানুষের স্বাভাবিক জীবন। এই স্বাভাবিক জীবনটাকে যদি মেনে না নেন, আমি এর অনেক দেখেছি। আমার কলেজের বন্ধুদের মধ্যে বেশ কিছু দেখেছি যারা এরকম প্রথম দিকে বেশ কিছু, একটা ছেলে ছিল বিরাট কিছু করতে পারেনি, তারা ফ্রাস্ট্রেশনে ভুগেছে। তো এই জিনিসগুলোকে মানুষকে স্বাভাবিকভাবে মেনে নিতে হবে। আপনি যে প্রতিদিনই জিতবেন এমন কথা নয়, এটাকে আপনাকে মানতে হবে যে আমি জিততে পারি, হারতে পারি। এই যে এখন যে সময়গুলো যাচ্ছে, এই সময়টা আমাদের হারার সময়, আমাদের সেটাকে স্বাভাবিকভাবে মেনে নিতে হবে। ঠিক আছে, এটা পার্ট অফ ওয়ে অফ লাইফ। এইভাবে এরপর আপনি কি করে ভালো থাকবেন, আপনাদের প্রত্যেকেরই দেখবেন কিছু না কিছু গুণ আছে। কেউ ভালো গান গান, কেউ ভালো লেখেন, কেউ কবিতা আবৃত্তি করেন, সেগুলো করবেন। তাতে কোনো গান গাইতে পারেন, নাচতে পারেন, অনেক কিছু করতে পারেন, লিখতে পারেন, কাউকে পড়াতে পারেন এইগুলোর মাধ্যমে। তো এখন তো অনেক প্রযুক্তি এগিয়ে গেছে। আমার যেমন বেড়াতে ভালোবাসি, আমি মাঝে মধ্যে মন খারাপ হলে কি করি, আমি ইউটিউবে বেড়ানোর ভিডিও দেখি, এইভাবে ভালো লাগে। তো ভাইয়া বলতে পারেন যে আমার পেশেন্টরা রয়েছেন, মাঝে মাঝে তার জন্য প্রতিদিনই বেরোতে হচ্ছে, সেটা একটা আমার, কিন্তু তার মধ্যে কিন্তু ভয় রয়েছে সাংঘাতিক, যে বাপরে বাপ কোথায় বেরোচ্ছে, সাংঘাতিক অবস্থা। আমাকে মাস্ক পরতে হবে, যেন সে মাস্ক লিক না করে। আমার যে সামনে পেশেন্টটি বসে আছেন, আর আমি ক্যান্সার পেশেন্ট ডিল করি, তাদের মধ্যে কোভিড হওয়ার সম্ভাবনা প্রবল। এই পেশেন্টটার কোভিড নয় তো, সুতরাং আমার তার থেকে আমার 6 হাত দূরে বসছে, আর মাস্কটা বাইরে টেস্ট করে দেখছি যে আমার লিক হচ্ছে না তো। দিস ইজ এ পার্ট অফ লাইফ, প্রত্যেকের পার্ট অফ লাইফ আছে, সেটাকে আপনাকে সেইভাবে আপনাকে চলতে হবে। আপনি যদি সবসময় মনে করেন যে আমার জীবন আগে যেমন ছিল এখনো সেভাবে চলবে, তাহলে হবে না। জীবনে এভাবেই আমাদের ন্যাচারাল নিয়মে আমাদের মেনে চলতে হবে, কেমন? তো এইভাবে আমার মনে হয় এইভাবে থাকলেই আপনি ভালো থাকবেন। তো এই যে কালকের ছেলেটি, এই ছেলেটি আমার যেটা মনে হয় ও হাঁটতে শেখেনি, যার কারণে এই 2 মাস 3 মাস মাত্র এই লকডাউন পিরিয়ডটা নিতে পারছে না। এটা হতেই পারে মানুষের জীবনে, কারোর পা ভাঙতে পারে, পা ভেঙে এসে 3 মাস বাড়িতে শুয়ে থাকতে পারে। কিন্তু যে কোনো মানুষের অস্বাভাবিক ঘটনা ঘটতে পারে। তা বলে কি আমি মরে যাবো বা আমি আমার খারাপ করে ফেলতে হবে? কখনোই নয়। আমাকে সেটা মেনে নিতে হবে, মনটাকে সেভাবে তৈরি করতে হবে। দেখুন, কোনো ওষুধ কোনো কিছু কিন্তু অসুখ সারাতে পারে না, আমি আমাকেই সারাতে পারি। যেমন আপনি আপনার সেরা ডাক্তার, সুতরাং আপনাকে সারাতে হবে। মাঝে মাঝে চুপচাপ বসে ভাববেন যে আমি কি করতে পারি, আমার কি অসুবিধা হচ্ছে, আমি তাহলে কি হবে, আমার কোনটা ভালো লাগছে, সেই ভালো লাগার বিষয়টাকে করুন। আমি যেমন ইউটিউবে আমার বেড়ানোর ছবি দেখি, আমার ধরুন 2-4 দিন কাজকর্ম করে এত ভয়, এত ঝামেলা, এত কিছু, বাপরে বাপ, হেড নেক অপারেশন করেছি, কি হবে কে জানে। তা আমি বাড়ি এসে 2-4টে বেড়ানোর ভিডিও দেখলাম, দেখে মনটা ভালো হয়ে গেল।
একজন ইংলিশে বলতে বলছে, স্যার বাইরে থেকে আছে তো ইংলিশে বলতে বলছে, মানে অন্য স্টেট থেকে আছে তো ওরা মানে বুঝতে পারছে না।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে। Basically we are human being, you know, and we have got a habit to win everything. I do not want to lose. There are various characteristics of human being. Somebody, those who do not want to lose, that is the problem. That boy, the young boy who has died yesterday, only because of that, he do not want to lose. He never tastes.
Dr. Sen, sorry to interrupt. Can I please request the participants to mute themselves? Somebody's television set is on and the sound is coming. Kindly mute yourself, please. Dr. Sen, you can resume.
আমি ওগুলো করে দিচ্ছি, ওগুলো চাই দিয়ে দেবো। তুমি তো ওকে চাই আলাদা করে দিয়েছো।
Mr. Jayanto Rokhit, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So we have to learn how to lose sometimes in our life. And say Robert Bush has told us the failures are the pillars of success. So we have to learn those things. We have to accept those things. And one can always sit back and realize why there is a failure and how to win in the next time. So we will learn from our failures. So the person who doesn't know how to learn from the failures, he can definitely do these things, because no amount of medicine, no amount of encouragement by other people can cure this thing. Only myself can cure myself. Okay, so you are your doctor, you are your best doctor. So try to heal yourself from within. Try to do something which you love, just like painting, writing, singing, dancing, or even cooking. Cooking is a very good stress reliever. If you want to enjoy cooking, try to do that. There's no harm in doing. If you have enough time, try with that. So sit back, relax, and think yourself, what is your best healer? So never get depressed, always be cheerful. That's your life.
Shreyadi Rakhide, there is so many questions from YouTube viewer. So I have taken one questions from Dr. Shayani Mukhopadhyay, Associate Professor, Ashutosh College. She is my friend also. She is watching our program on YouTube. She is, her question is, we are seeing majority of people are wearing cotton or soft banyan cloths materials mask. Is it okay for regular works? Already.
No.
Okay, sir.
Cotton mask is okay,
Just
but
answered it.
that mask incorporate one layer of non-woven fabric. This means if you put fabric like this, one layer inside the cotton fabric, that is safer. And you can buy this thing from internet. This is a mostly cotton fabric couch. It is prepared by IIT Delhi startup e-CoExist. So this is rupees 45. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's very
sir.
useful, very soft, and it has got incorporation of non-woven fabric inside. This is a fabric, cotton fabric. This outside is a cotton fabric, but in the third layer there is a non-cotton fabric. There is non-woven fabric that will prevent from virus infection, because virus gets stuck in the outside layer of the mask. So always use those things. Do not use, if you want to use the cotton fabric, 2-layer, use 2 masks at a time. That will prevent somehow.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. There is another question, that is virus is more challenging for diabetic people? Prabha Lohar. Prabha Lohar, are you there? Prabha Lohar.
Please unmute
yes, ma'am,
yourself.
I'm here.
Please introduce
Yes, ma'am.
yourself. Please introduce yourself. Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm Prabha Lohar from Darjeeling Southfield College from India, West Bengal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Good evening.
Yes.
That's a good question. Basically, what happens is most of the diabetic patients are having less immunity. They have got other parameters, which is just like kidney and heart cardiac functions are not working well. So every diabetic patient should take extra precaution, like controlling their blood sugar properly. They must protect themselves from outside the world by using mask and hand washing. Okay, so they are little prone to this virus. If they get infected, it has been seen they can produce more virulent type of these viruses. So rather, just like our cancer patients, having less immunity, they will develop more virulence of the disease. So they may get have the pneumonia and other side effects of the viruses. So be careful with the diabetic patients.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Rakhidi, Shreyadi.
Bolo.
Rakhidi, there are.
Yes. There are few more questions, but should I take, or there is one question from Dulal Kumar De. Sir, the question is how home quarantine will be safe to prevent COVID-19. Although most of us
that's a very relevant question, because in India we do not have any separation, because quarantine means you have to get separated from others. Particularly, each one of us should have one room. Do we have one room for each of us? It's very difficult. So it's really difficult to home quarantine one person. Rather, it is easier to do it in Western world.
Okay, Shreya ma'am, can you please tell anything? Otherwise, it's very informative.
Is there any, Dr. Deepika, do you want any more questions? Or
no,
Dr. Shannon, I think we have taken a lot of your
actually,
time.
we have lots of questions, but that will be never ending. So
okay, you can say, talk, no problem. Another 10 minutes you can talk. There's no
Can I ask a very quick question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Dr. Sen, first you said you are FRCS. We should be referring to as Mr. rather than Doctor.
Yeah, I know.
So we have downgraded you because my son is FRCS, and I know the protocol here is so you have a very modest. Should have been calling you Mr. My question is, I think you have covered it, but was lockdown the right approach for India? I mean, considering what you have said, I mean, this applies also to Bangladesh because I came from there.
Yes.
I am questioning myself that. And your conviction about this mask is correct. In Germany, they released a research report and they said that it's 40% effective wearing the masks. And from today in UK, only in public transport, it is now mandatory to wear the, otherwise there'll be a fine. So I think your advice is very good, very sound, which I hope even people in UK would take into account. But my question back to you about, was lockdown the right thing for countries like Bangladesh and India?
That's a very nice question. Lockdown is not the answer for the disease. There's the number one point. Then why everybody are doing lockdown. Lockdown time is basically for our preparation to gear up our health machinery and to train health machinery with the new disease. This is absolutely a new disease. We don't have any idea how to cope with it. So by this time, we are gearing up our beds, our ICUs, our doctors, our nurses, our health workers, and our investigative methods. This is basically for that, to buying time rather, not for people going out or doing anything. Because in a country like India and Bangladesh, unlimited lockdown is not the answer, because that will create lot of loss of economy. Already we are having that low GDP, we are going down with our economy. And if we impose lockdown for a long time, that will create negative impact on our economy. So that is not the answer. There is a 21 days to 1 month lockdown is sufficient to incorporate all those things. And number one. Number two, by this time, we are doing one thing, we are reducing the spread of the disease. Because in a country of 130 crore, or in a Bangladesh is almost like 13-20 crore people. So if we got infected, our health machinery will overwhelmed. We are not that sophisticated enough, or you are not that generous enough, and we are not that rich enough to cope with these situations. That's why this lockdown is basically to buying time, nothing else. But I don't know how far we have achieved those things. It's time will only say.
Yeah. Mr. Sen, thank you very much. Very convincing.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, there is one important question I should mention that from Pinky Saha Sardar. She asked that hello? Pinky Saha Sardar. Yes.
Rakhi, Pinky Saha there?
Pinky Saha, I don't know whether she is there. Let me just say the question. The question is relevant for all of us also. Is there any chance of any COVID patient after recovery to be reinfected?
Pardon?
Is there any chance for any COVID patient after recovery to be reinfected?
Generally not. If there is enough antibody in our body, generally it's very difficult to get reinfected. But if we don't have that much amount of antibody, so reinfection may happen.
Okay. That's it. I think there is not very good questions.
Dr. Lipika, if you yes, Dr. Lipika, if you have the last question, we can take just one more. I think Dr. Shen has given us enough of his time.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
If you have another couple of questions, maybe the last one or two questions, that's it.
Okay, no problem.
Is there anything relevant? Dr. Lipika, is there any more question?
Rakhi?
There is question. There someone asked. I will just I will not go to that YouTube, but I am just asking the question that whether is someone asked that whether it's safe to avail the public AC transport.
No.
Home is fine. You mentioned no.
It is not safe.
Sir.
It is safer to travel by air, not by train or not by bus. Because in air travel, they use nanofilter. They use HEPA filter. So air travel is safer than traveling by bus, AC bus, or by AC train.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Lots
Dr.
of
Shreya
information we
Bhattacharya.
got.
Thank
Ma'am, Shreya, ma'am.
Yes.
Madam.
Yes. So that I think that brings us to the close of a very interesting session. I would like to tender my thanks to Mr. Khan for giving us a very good review, rather an overview of the situation prevailing in the UK at the moment, and also making us conscious that this is a disease which neither knows boundaries, nor knows religion, nor knows class, nor knows ethnicities, nor knows nationalities. You know, it is a grand leveler, so to speak. I would also like to tender my thanks to Dr. Aditya Narayan Shen, first of all, for accepting my invitation and for talking about issues which are relevant for all of us today as we try to live in what he calls a new world and what I like to call the new normal. You know, the time has come for us to accept this as the new normal. And this is going to stay with us, as he points out, for the maybe for the next 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, right? So yeah, maybe more, we do not know. And so the point is, how do we adjust to this new life and how not to succumb to issues like depression? You know, how to keep yourself happy and positive, creative in such circumstances, and how to continue to do work that is meaningful. You know, that is what is very, very important.
Yes,
absolutely. I think Dr. Shane has very beautifully and very succinctly informed us how we can take care of ourselves. It does not require much. It only requires that we become more disciplined, you know, and follow certain small precautions on an everyday level. You know, if we are able to achieve that much, I don't think we need to feel so terrified about this disease. And I absolutely agree with what he said, you know, when he said that for God's sake, don't watch the television news, especially at night, because it's going to scare you, give you nightmares, and you are going to wake up the next morning groggy and depressed. So I think it was a wonderful session. I have personally been enriched. On my personal behalf and on behalf of Belda College, I would like to thank both the speakers, Mr. Khan and Dr. Shane, for sparing so much of their time and being with us today. I think all of us have benefited immensely, and I think the student community has also benefited immensely. Thank you. Dr. Lipika.
I'm very much thankful to Dr. Shreya Bhattacharya, rather Shreya Di, to give a great opportunity to listen Dr. Sen.
Thank you so much.
Informative, so much important issues you have raised or you have already solved. You have identified the ways of solution for our students and our in our daily lives or for our institution. Thank you very much, Dr. Khan and Dr. Aditya Narayan Sen, Dr. Shreya Bhattacharya, and Dr. Rakhi Deshkarma. Over to Dr. Sritama. Sritama, are you there?
Yeah. I think we have come to the end of today's program. So I'll request Shahili and first I'll request Shahili to extend her thanks, and then I'll request Dr. Lipika Mondol, and at last I will request our IQAC director Rashid Panda to conclude the session. So before that, first Dr. Shahili, over to you.
Thank you, respected guests and our respected speakers and our respected chair. We are extremely benefited by your lecture and all the useful and informations that you have provided us in order to tackle COVID tactfully. That is, we have to over-empower COVID. So thank you so much. Now, one small announcement I have to make regarding the paper presentation that we have arranged for tomorrow. I just want to mention the names of the paper presenters, though they have been intimated yesterday, but still I want to mention the names of the paper presenters so that they can be ready for tomorrow's paper presentation. So tomorrow's paper presentation will start from 12:30 to 1:30. In this session, we have 5 presenters: Dr. Bharatendra Sharma.
Hello.
Dr. Bharatendra Sharma, Ms. Anindita Mukherjee Chaudhary, Dr. Saurav Madhur De, Anshuman, and Dr. Chandana Singha. These 5 presenters are requested to be present and to be ready with their PPT, or if they want to give their verbal presentation, they are most welcome to give any form of presentation. And the next 3 presentation that is scheduled from 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. I'm just reading out the names of the presenters: Mr. Hare Krishna Kuiri, Ms. Madhumita Jana, and Ms. Tabassum Makbul. These presenters are requested to be present, and their time slot is from 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Thank you so much.
Deepika Di, yeah, I'll request you to kindly express your vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sritama. I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to our esteemed guests from India and Bangladesh and UK. First of all, I would like to extend my thanks to Professor A. Chaudhary, Registered Dhaka University of Engineering and Technology, Bangladesh; Professor Hossein, Pro VC, Bangladesh Open University; Mr. Khan, Managing Director, Midway Consultant, London; Professor Dr. Shreya Bhattacharjee, Department of English Studies, Central University of Jharkhand; Dr. Amitabh Bhattacharjee, Department of Physics, Sikkim University; Dr. Thomas, Department of Philosophy, Assam Central University, Silchar; and Dr. Aditya Narayan Sen, Surgical Oncologist, Amri, Kolkata. Now over to Dr. Rashid to end of our today's program, and now we will again rejoin at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Dr. Rashid.
Ashita got disconnected or what?
Okay, Sritama.
I think due to some technical problem, Ashita got
Shahili,
disconnected.
please wind up. Yeah, Shahili, wind up. Yeah.
So we are going to meet tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll start making the arrangements from 10 a.m. and I would request all the participants to log in from 10 a.m. onwards, and the process of logging in will be completed by 10:30. So I hope, yes.
One thing, I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to all of the participants across the India and Bangladesh. Actually, I'm forgotten. So participants, I would like to extend my thanks to all of the participants and our beloved students. Thank you.
Thank you. So we end our session here.
Thank you, Shredi.
Yes.
Thank you all. Namaskar.
Thank you.
আমরা আবার ডক্টর সেনকে যেন আবার পরে শুনতে পাই। আমাদের লকডাউনের পরে আমরা আপনাকে কলেজে ইনভাইট করছি, মানে ভীষণ ভাবে আমরা কলেজের সামনে থেকে আপনাকে শুনবো। আমার ছাত্রদের বিরাট ডিমান্ড এটা। থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
শ্রেয়াদি, কালকে দেখা হচ্ছে।
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Please take care of yourself.
Subir, I would like to extend my thanks, lots of thanks to Subir, who is our